21-year-old customer service manager Ryan Sells is suing his co-worker, 18-year-old inventory clerk Kristen Ballou, for having him falsely arrested for a sexual assault. Kristen says Ryan fondled her at work.
Order, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 69 on the calendar in the matter of Sells versus Ballou. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Sells, it is your claim that the defendant filed false charges of sexual assault against you, and ultimately those charges were dismissed. I assume they were dismissed after a trial. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you want to be compensated?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how you know the defendant.
The defendant is an employee that I work with. I am her supervisor.
And how long have you worked together?
I believe about a year.
Now, according to your complaint, something happened with the defendant's boyfriend that sort of precipitated all of this. You want to tell me about that?
Yes, ma'am. Beginning in February, Mr. Alphen, the defendant's boyfriend, began leaving threatening notes on my car. I reported them to the police. The first time they said it could be just a mistake, so they wanted to let it go. If it happened again, to come see them. So I did. It happened again in March. I got another threatening note. I had the police come down.
Do you have those notes?
I do have part of one. It was raining outside, so it got pretty destroyed. The other one is at the police station as evidence. So I'm going to give this to the judge, please.
Tell me my job.
Okay. How many notes in total did the defendant's boyfriend leave on your car?
I received 2. After the second one, I went to the police again, and they came to my place of employment. We watched the surveillance tapes to discover that it was Mr. Alphen.
You didn't know who it was at the time?
Not until I saw the surveillance tapes.
Go ahead.
When they found out who it was, they asked me what I wanted to do about it, and I said I would like to file a complaint. I filed a complaint on the 23rd, and they said they were going to talk to him or have him arrested because he had admitted to it because they had talked to him previously. He was arrested, and then an hour after he was arrested, Miss Ballou went to the police and told them that I had sexually assaulted her between the dates of March 1st through March 4th. She couldn't remember when. However, on the citation when I was arrested, she narrowed it down to March 4th at 12:30 p.m.
Do you have those complaints?
Yes.
I'd like to see them, please.
Also, on the time that she claims it occurred, Miss Ballou claims it occurred at 12:30 p.m. March 4th. However, I have coinciding records that show Miss Ballou did not clock in for work until 12:57 that day. There would be no possible way in that 27 minutes I could do an override or a supervisor function for her if she had not even gotten a register yet or been at work.
So what happened when you were arrested, Mr. Sells? You were arrested, ultimately, I assume you had to hire a lawyer, you were given a lawyer?
Yes, I did.
You hired a lawyer?
Yes, I did.
What happened with the boyfriend's case?
We were both given the date of May 2nd. However, I moved it up to 4/18 because I felt I wanted to get it over with. The situation was bad enough. I didn't need to let it drag out. Mr. Alphen pleaded guilty to harassment and was given a year's probation, the same date that my trial was.
And what happened at the end of the trial?
My lawyer kept pushing that we had surveillance tapes and videotapes that had to be shown if they wanted to prove, you know, for beyond a shadow of a doubt that I was not guilty. The judge didn't want to watch the tapes, so he appointed the prosecutor and my attorney to watch the tapes. They watched the tapes. A few days later, the judge ruled not guilty.
Did the prosecutor agree that that was...
Yes,
did
yes,
he dismiss the charges?
Yes, the judge, the prosecutor, and my lawyer were all together in it.
Okay. Now, I've read in your complaint, sir, that you had had a conversation with Miss Ballou, either you or your lawyer, prior to the date set for both her boyfriend and you to appear in court with regard to dropping the charges. Can you tell me about that conversation?
We were in court getting ready for my trial, and Miss Ballou's lawyer, attorney, came to my attorney and spoke with us about if I would drop the charges against Mr. Alphen, then they would drop the charges against me.
And you declined to do that?
Yes, I did, due to my innocence.
Were you suspended from your job for any period of time?
Yes, I was, ma'am.
For how long?
33 days.
You are now back at work?
Yes, ma'am.
What about the defendant?
She wasn't suspended. She is still employed.
All right, Miss Ballou, now I'll hear you.
Well, when I made the complaint to the officer in the report, it was not the 4th. It was sometime the first week, the 1st or the 4th.
What date did you start to work at the company together with the plaintiff?
The beginning of August, I would say.
Of 2001?
Yes.
And Mr. Sells was your supervisor all that time?
Yes.
And was this gentleman your boyfriend all of that time?
Yes.
Now, I want you to stand up, sir. Your last name is?
Alphen.
Mr. Rolfin, why were you leaving notes on the plaintiff's car?
Because my girlfriend, then my fiance now, is being sexually assaulted at work.
No, sexually assaulted is a conclusion. What did your girlfriend tell you that inspired you to leave these notes?
The plaintiff, Ryan, a person that's our personal space, and at work he would stand very close to Kristen, talk to her in a flirty manner, try to rub her shoulders, and she would tell him to stop, and he would just blow it off like she was joking. He would try to hug her all the time and put his hands toward her breasts. And, yes, ma'am.
That you're making up?
No, ma'am.
That you're making up as you're going? Keep going.
And finally there was an incident at work where he got very close to her, rubbed himself on her.
No, that happened in March, sir. That happened after you wrote the notes on his car.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, after you left these notes on his car, which you, I assume, did not sign.
No, Your Honor.
What did you say in the notes, sir?
I called him a little bitch.
You called him a little bitch?
Yes, ma'am. I don't know
Now,
if
why
it's
would you call him a little bitch? Please.
Because I was very angry.
A little bitch is not something that you call a man. You may call a man a bitch, but you don't call a man a little bitch. Now, why did you call him a little bitch, sir?
Because I was very angry at him for touching my fiance, ma'am.
You're not answering my question.
Well,
Officer Byrd understands my question. You call a woman a bitch. You don't call a man a little bitch. And you know that. So why would you call him a little bitch?
Because I was angry, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You fudged it a little bit with the, he rubbed up against me, and he touched my back.
If Ryan would not have done anything to me, there would have been no motive.
I don't believe he did anything to you, madam. I think you're full of baloney.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ryan Sells claims he was arrested when co-worker Christine Ballou made false allegations of sexual assault. Ryan says she was looking for revenge.
Now, Miss Ballou, is it just coincidental, madam, that you filed a formal complaint for the first time for incidents that had occurred months before, 1 hour after your boyfriend was arrested? Is that just coincidental? Is that what you want me to believe?
No, I have...
It was on purpose?
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me, what inspired you 1 hour after your boyfriend was arrested to file this complaint?
Well, I had talked to management about it before, and they didn't seem to do anything. So the officer didn't cuff him or anything. He just came to our place of work and told him that both of us needed to meet him at the police station. So we went down there, and I told him everything that Mr. Sells has done to me, and he asked me if I would like to make a complaint, and I said yes. But that day, when we were at work, when I turned him into management for like the 5th time after they didn't do anything, he came back up to work after he
Do you
came back.
have any copies of the reports that you made to management prior to March of 2002?
They didn't have me write a statement. They just talked.
And you didn't write a statement?
They did not
You
want...
did... No, you did not write a statement. You have the ability to write a statement.
I did write statements with one of my management.
Oh, let me see it.
I don't have them. They would not let us take anything out of...
Well, if you write a statement, an intelligent person keeps a copy. Go ahead.
Ryan came back up to work after he found out that I had turned him in, walked up to my register when I was checking people out, told me I was full in sexual harassment, all this was bull.
I believe that's true.
So...
I believe that's true.
I have...
Oh, I believe... Let me see your proof.
That Ryan has done this to me and other women and that other people have seen it.
You want them?
I don't want letters. I don't know who the people are. I don't know if they're your friends. I don't know. Certainly your letter is self-serving.
One of the women that are on here is sitting right over there that states...
You have a letter from a woman who is sitting over here?
I have a letter from a woman that saw Mr. Sells, the way he acts sexually towards this woman sitting over here.
Oh, well, let me see it. I'd be
Her
quite...
name is stated-
Don't tell me her name.
Excuse me, Your Honor. May I bring my witness over to speak with you?
Sure.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Lisa Volo.
Lisa, you're mentioned in this letter as someone who the plaintiff made sexual comments to. Never touching or anything else, but sexual comments to. Can you think of any of those comments?
No, he never has. And in fact, the Monday after Mr. Sells was arrested, I was called into the management's office. They wanted me to make a statement against Mr. Sells. Ms. Ballou said that I had witnessed the whole sexual assault. And at that time, I made a statement saying that I never witnessed anything, and I never saw Mr. Sells.
How long have you been working at the same place as the plaintiff?
I've been working at this store for 9 months.
Have you ever seen Mr. Sells do anything of a sexual nature that was untoward physically to anyone?
No, ma'am, I've never.
And I want you to be honest with me about this. Have you ever heard him say anything, even in a joking manner, that might be construed as being inappropriate?
No, I have never.
Now, Mr. Rolfin, did your girlfriend and now fiancé ever say that she didn't like the way Mr. Sills was talking to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever go up to him and discuss it with him?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because I was very angry and I did not want to take any physical action against Mr. Sells.
That's not physical action.
Well, in
That's
talking...
not physical action. That's just saying, listen, you may think something is cute, but my girlfriend doesn't appreciate it. So I'd like you to not talk to her about anything other than being very professional, rather than writing these sick notes and leaving them on his car unsigned.
But if Ryan would not have done anything to me, there would have been no motive.
I don't believe he did anything to you, madam. I think you're full of baloney. I think maybe you didn't like the way he talked to you, but there isn't a chance in hell that he sexually assaulted you as you outlined in your papers. And what you did was your boyfriend got busted because he wrote nasty notes on the car, and this was your way of gaining leverage. Because if you would have said, well, he talked to me inappropriately, they would not have arrested him. They would not have arrested him. So you fudged it a little bit with the, he rubbed up against me and he touched my back. Now, your boyfriend has an interesting choice of words when he refers to the plaintiff. So he may not have liked him for a variety of reasons. But there is no question in my mind that you are full of it when you say that he physically touched you. So, he was out of work for 33 days. He hired a lawyer. The maximum he is suing for in the jurisdiction where you come from is $3,000.
Yes,
I believe you are entitled to every penny.
Thank
Judgment
you
for the
so
plaintiff.
much,
That's
Judge.
all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And everyone knows that she lied and that I was totally innocent the whole time.
Ryan knows what he did, and he should be punished, but he's not.
I never seen Ryan do anything, and I just knew she was lying.
Stay away from Ryan.
Miss Ballou put me through hell for nothing.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Peyton versus Preston. Step forward, please.
Bill Paith is suing his former live-in girlfriend, home health care worker Margaret Preston, for a $2,000 cell phone bill. Margaret is countersuing for the return of her property and for harassment.
Mr. Paith, according to your complaint, the defendant and her daughter moved into your home. And at some point, you put her on your cell phone. She
Yes,
was
ma'am.
using a cell phone that you were responsible for. She and her daughter subsequently moved out, and she had accumulated several $1,000s in phone bills on the cell phone, and you believe she is responsible for those bills.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Preston says that there was never an agreement with regard to her repaying you for her cell phone use, and she has a counterclaim. She says that you kept some of her property when she moved out, and that you have embarked upon a campaign of harassing her. When and why did she and her daughter move in with you, sir?
We had, if you will use the term loosely, dated in the past for approximately a year. She is married. She'd been talking on many occasions the past fall about leaving her husband. She wasn't happy. We had talked on a few occasions about maybe trying to get together, start dating. I told her a few times, I got a 4-bedroom house. I live in a good neighborhood. I'm a single guy. Move in with me. We'll see what happens.
Okay, continue, sir.
Got a U-Haul rental truck and moved her and her daughter into my house. This is December 21st, I believe. She was working some sort of home health care job. In the beginning of January, she made a comment. We felt it would be good. I agreed with her. She could use a cell phone for her job. She wasn't able to get one because of her credit. But I said, well, listen, we'll go out, we'll get you a cell phone. We'll put it under my name, my plan, because I already currently have one. What we need to do is you have to be able to pay for half the bill and anything above and beyond that. You use extra minutes, you're going to have to pay for that. I can't afford that stuff. She agreed. I went out, I bought her a $150 phone. January 9th, we had this plan started and purchased the phone. I had the phone shut off March 22nd. The phone bill was well over $2,000.
Can I see a copy of the phone bill?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you discuss the phone bill with her?
A number of occasions.
Is that right?
I had agreed to pay half, yes. But
You
I
did?
was only told about $1,000. And I have one bill here of $189.
Who were you talking to?
Your Honor.
Who were you talking to?
People calling me about going different places for my work. I do home health care.
People calling you or you calling them?
Both.
She has 1 month with 874 calls. They are detailed, my phone number, my calls, her phone number, her calls. She has 874 calls in 1 month. That month alone, I believe the bill shows $1,080 in extra minutes alone.
Okay, the bills that you've given me are $1,635. Okay, now, I'm interested, Ms. Preston, because in your answer to this complaint, you say that you never had an agreement with him to pay this bill.
We had a verbal agreement that I would pay half.
You did?
But when I tried to, for instance, I bought groceries one time. My daughter was a witness to Bill going through the roof over the fact that I had bought groceries. He didn't want my money. And this
Well, that's what
happened
you
on
say in your answer, but now you say that you do have a responsibility to pay this phone bill.
But he would not accept my money.
Did you ever offer him money for the phone bill?
No, I did not have the $2,000. I never saw a $2,000 phone bill.
Okay. Now you want to tell me about your counterclaim, please.
When I moved out, I recorded a conversation between Bill and I where he was off and on saying whether or not he was going to give me my stuff. At one point he said he'd give me my stuff and we'd just call it even. He threatened to hold my stuff, so to speak, hostage for $1,000 because that's what he said the phone bill was. He couldn't make up his mind about how much the phone bill was. I finally was able to talk him into letting me come in and get my stuff, and I got a U-Haul truck and some friends went over, got as much of my stuff as I could, and have discovered that there was a lot that I didn't get, and there were things that were ruined while I lived there. Because he has 3 dogs. They urinated or chewed my stuff up.
I'm not interested in what his dogs did to your stuff. You were living there. Voluntarily.
Yes.
His dogs
Your
pulled
Honor?
apart. Shh. Do I look like I need help? Okay. Now, if you didn't like living there, you should have moved out, which you ultimately did, but then you don't sue him because his dogs damaged some of your stuff. What stuff do you claim he didn't give you?
I don't have an itemized list, Your Honor.
Well, then you don't get anything for that. So then let's go to the next part of your counterclaim, which was for harassment. You want to tell me about that?
I have a taped conversation. It's a very vulgar taped conversation.
Why
with
don't you
him.
tell me about it?
Just harassing me, telling me I can't have my stuff, cussing me out about
But he
a
ultimately gave you
conversation.
your stuff.
Some of it.
Is
He
that what you're
harassed my daughter.
Is that what you're talking about? Is that the harassment that you're talking
Yes,
about?
not only did he harass my daughter, but so did his witness.
His witness isn't on trial today, so you have no counterclaim. And he has a claim. That's the bills that he's presented to me are $1,635. That you get. Now, did you shut off the cell phone, sir?
Oh, yes, I did. I had it
That is
long ago.
very smart. That's all.
All right, case number 225 on the calendar in the matter of Martinez versus Singleton. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
All right, Ms. Martinez, your claim is one for assault and injury that you allege that Mr. Singleton caused you. I'm going to try to put this case in perspective so we can get down to the nitty-gritty of it swiftly because I have other business today. You brought your car into his shop to have your car windows tinted.
Yes.
Had you ever had dealings with him before?
Never.
You brought it in early one morning, and when you called at about midday to find out the car was ready, Mr. Singleton or somebody else in the shop said that they hadn't started working on it yet, but it would be ready sometime later that day.
Correct.
Well, you were annoyed that your car hadn't been worked on yet. You came down to the shop to get the car. It was at that point that you claimed that there was an altercation. You got into your car and you claimed that Mr. Singleton became obstreperous, slammed the car door onto your left arm, causing you to be injured, causing pain and suffering and a whole bunch of other things. Mr. Singleton says you're a very good actress, right?
Yes.
When had you made arrangements to take the car into his shop, Miss Martinez?
I called him the evening before. I called him on the 26th.
And he said bring it in what time in the morning?
He said he does it only by appointments and to be there at 8 o'clock.
And you were there at 8 a.m.?
I was.
What time did he tell you to pick up the car?
He asked me to call him about 2 o'clock.
So what time did you call?
I actually called at 12 as I was leaving for lunch. I thought maybe when I was done with my lunch hour that I could go by and pick up my car because the night before he had told me he would only need my car for 4 hours.
Okay. Called at noon, and what did he say?
He was very angry at me and told me that I was not supposed to call him until 2 o'clock. I was told not to call him. And I tried explaining to him, well, I'm leaving for lunch right now. I was going to be gone for an hour. I thought maybe at 1 p.m. I could come by and pick it up. Well, we haven't started it yet. And he said, call me back at 2. And I thought at that point, because he was so rude to me on the telephone, I didn't feel comfortable with him having my vehicle. So I called him back and I told him that I was on my way, that I wasn't going to have my car done there If he needed my car for 4 hours, he wasn't going to have my car ready by 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, if he hadn't even started it
Fine,
yet.
so you went down to get your car. You told him, don't work on my car. I'm coming down to pick it up.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
said it very nicely. I wasn't angry.
So you went down to pick up your car.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I walked into the building. There, I have pictures of the building. I walked into the building on the left-hand side.
Would you talk to me and stop looking at pictures? I don't care which side you walked in.
Okay, well, I walked into the business, and I was standing at the counter. There was 2 gentlemen tinting windows. Mr. Singleton was not there. And I stood there for a moment, and I kind of said out loud, I'm here to pick up my keys for my vehicle. And I looked over, and there was a board on the left-hand side, and there was my keys, and there was an invoice there. And I go, oh, here they are right here. No one said anything, so I picked up my keys, and I actually took the invoice as well. It had no writing on it but my address. I was not comfortable with him having my address, so I wanted to remove my address out of there, and if he brought the invoice, it would show very clearly that I was not messing with his numbers if he had reasons.
You didn't think about all this stuff. Come on, you picked up your keys and the invoice was on it. What did you do next?
I started walking to my vehicle, and I believe his witness here was yelling at me, not the paperwork, not the paperwork. And I continued walking. Well, he came over and he snatched the paper out of my hand. And I said, well, that's okay. I go, I just wanted my address out of there. He got the paper and there was no words. I went to my car. I got in my car. Mr. Singleton came out of a totally different building, and he came up to my car, in front of my car, over to my car, and opened my car door. He was yelling at me.
Open which door?
He opened my driver's door, where I was sitting. He opened my door.
You had already gotten into the car and closed the door.
I was in my car. I had started my car.
Go ahead.
And so he came over, opened my car door. He started yelling at me. He was furious at me. For what reason, I don't know
Well,
why.
what did he say, Miss Martinez?
Oh, he was yelling at me that I was supposed to not call him until 2 o'clock. I couldn't even tell you everything he was yelling at me. I don't remember. I was shocked that he was yelling at me.
Go ahead.
So I tried closing my car door. I reached to close my car door, and he had his arm like this on my car door standing, and he pulled it back away from me. I said, it really doesn't matter. And he was so angry, and he just kept yelling at me. And so I sat there. There was nothing I could do. And then he's called me, and he slammed my door as hard as he could, and it hit me in my arm area here, and it shoved my area here. When he did that, he walked away. I sat there for a minute, 1, because I was in shock, 2, because he had just hurt me. And then I got out of my car and told him I was calling the police and having him arrested for assault.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What you testified to today did not require a whole bunch of tears. You didn't find out that somebody died. You're a little bit of an actress.
And later today,
He proposed to me and broke it off.
So what? If he wasn't going to be a good husband, you're all going to go home and you're going to say, lucky, we called it off when we should have. Goodbye and good luck.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Karen Martinez says window tinting technician Kent Singleton detained her at his place of business and then assaulted her. Kent says Karen is a good actress.
Go ahead.
He yelled at me continually still. I asked my girlfriend, because my phone was not charged, I asked my girlfriend if I could use her telephone. So I got the phone from her and I called 911. He's yelling at me to get off his property. I was not in my car at that time and just kept yelling to get off his property. And I said, I'm trying, because I was getting the phone and dialing. So I finally did get off his property, and I waited for the police for about an hour and a half to get there. They took a report. I have the report.
I'd like to see the report.
Okay. The girlfriend that was with me, she had fully intended to come today. She's a school teacher, and she wasn't able to come today. Her statement...
I don't take her statement.
Okay.
How come you decided not to prosecute?
When the officer came out and took the report, I told him that I wanted to have him arrested, and he talked me out of it. He said that if I did that, he could turn around and have me arrested or have me prosecuted.
For what?
For a false statement, or I don't know why he said that. He just said that it could turn around on me.
Just says the victim desired no prosecution.
I've also talked to somebody at the station since then.
Don't tell me what you said to somebody at the station, madam. That's hearsay. Okay.
Well, I wanted to
have a
find
couple
out.
of things. What?
I wanted to find out because I didn't know that's what that meant. I didn't know that.
Well, that's what
that
it means. It means no prosecution. What do you mean you don't know what that meant? No
Well,
prosecution.
I didn't have the report at that time, so
but that's
I didn't
what it means.
know.
A victim desires no prosecution means that you decided not to prosecute. Mr. Singleton, okay, you have a slightly different version of the events, sir, but there's one thing that you do say. She was in her car with the car door closed, and you told the police that you opened her car door. Why did you do that, sir?
Because Rich told me what she said to him and what she did up in front, and he said that...
Wait a second. What she did was she took her keys and a piece of paper that was a work order. Your employee had already gotten back the work order. There's nothing on the work order except her name and address and what work was to be done, because no work was done on the car. Is that right?
Yeah, but it shows proof. I mean, if she went and had her car tinted someplace else and, say, got a bad job, she could sit there and say, I have a receipt.
Correct. She could have done that, sir. However, your employee had already gotten back the work order. So all she had was her car and her keys. Why did you open her car door?
Because she basically took the course of events from the very beginning to the very end and twisted them around. And
No. Let me explain something. It's not what happened. And you told her to be there at 8 o'clock. Happens all the time. You tell everybody that day, bring your car in at 8 o'clock. When you get around to doing their car, you do it. She hadn't specified to you what time she needed her car back. And this I'm getting all from what you told the police initially, sir. So, because she wasn't one of the customers that day that said, I need my car back in 4 hours, you pushed her over until later. And you did other cars before you did hers.
No, I never do that.
Well, you did. You were doing other cars before you did hers. But that's okay. You're entitled to do that.
No, I don't do that, ma'am.
Okay. You're entitled to do it if you want to do it. I mean, you hadn't started working on her car at noon, and she brought the car in at 8 o'clock in the morning.
We tell people to be there between 8 and 9 in the morning.
Fine.
Okay, the cars are done according to the way they came in. I have a very, very strong company policy of not putting anybody in front of somebody.
Listen to me, Mr. Singleton. You can tell people, be there at 8 o'clock. It takes 4 hours. You do not explain to them that you're coming in on a first-come, first-served basis. And that may be your policy. Because if you worked strictly on appointment, you would have said to her, be there at 2 o'clock and I will have your car ready for you at 6 o'clock. That's an appointment. But you don't. You have the cars stacked up so that the cars are waiting for you rather than you waiting for the cars. That's your business. You're entitled to do that. I'm not faulting you for that, sir. I'm faulting you because you opened her car door. The situation had already de-escalated. If there was any problem up front, any problem at all up front, that had already been resolved with your witness, who took the paperwork back. Right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
So she had a car, she had her keys, she was hysterical, so she's out. So
Ma'am, may I tell you something?
I don't want to hear anything else from you, because I don't like exaggerators either. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
I hear you.
Good, because what you testified to today did not require a whole bunch of tears. I mean, nobody killed your child, or you didn't find out that somebody died.
No, I'm
It's
very
months later.
sensitive.
It's months later. You had an altercation with a mechanic, which happens frequently, unfortunately, and he slammed the door, and I believe that he hurt your arm when he slammed the door, that the door hit your arm, because you're not totally in the car, you're not careful of that, and he slammed it, and at that moment it hurt your arm. I don't believe that you almost died as a result of that.
No, I
Understand
didn't.
that? Okay, so I don't see why it required all the tears, unless, as the defendant says, you're a little bit of an actress.
No, I'm very
That doesn't mean that
sensitive.
he's allowed to do what he did. He can't, because you slammed the door in her arm, and you hurt her. So aside from saying, I'm sorry, you got to compensate her. Let me see your medical bills. What day of the week was it that you went to his place of business?
It was a Thursday.
Were you working on Friday, June 28th?
Yes, I was at work.
Right. And am I correct that the first time you went to any sort of a clinic or doctor was not until July 1st?
Yes.
And what time did you go to the clinic on July 1st?
I went as soon as I could get the first appointment. I went between 8 and 8:30 in the morning.
And then you went to work that day?
No, I did not. I was taken off work for 3 days. I couldn't move my head. I couldn't drive.
But you were fine the next day?
No, I was not fine the
You
next
stayed
day.
at work all day on the 28th?
Yes, my arm was very sore.
Okay.
But it was 3 days later I woke up and something in my neck and my shoulder here was hurting me, and I couldn't lift my head off the bed. I called my supervisor. My supervisor from work came and picked me up and took me to the doctors. I couldn't drive. I couldn't hardly do anything.
What else do you want to tell me, Mr. Singleton?
I feel that when she called and said, is my car ready? She says, I have to have it by 2 o'clock. I have somewhere to go. I said, ma'am, it will be ready by 2 o'clock. It takes us an hour to do each car, then it will sit out outside for an hour. It's hot during the summertime. The tent dries quick. I says, it will be ready by 2. She hangs up and calls back a minute later. I'm going to come and pick up my car right now.
Fine.
Now, I've had people upset before because their car isn't being done first. But we do have a bad problem with people making appointments. If we tried to do 8, 10, 12, 2, and people don't show, then we're sitting around for 2 hours not making any money. And it is a business.
I understand that, but she said, I'm coming to get my car. She has a right to do that.
She does have a right to do that.
And I wasn't angry.
I didn't ask you to say anything.
Okay.
He's been very quiet when you've been testifying.
You're right.
Go ahead.
What she did to Rich and what she did to me. Okay?
What'd she do to you?
Basically, she twisted. She goes, I can't believe you haven't touched my car yet.
So?
And I said, well, ma'am, I says, we will have it done at that time. I says, it's very frustrating, you know, when you're sitting there trying to run a business and people, I'm very clear with people. I tell them.
So I'm not interested in being clear with people. I want to know why you didn't just let her get into her car and leave. You hadn't touched her car, hadn't done any work on her car. She has a right to let that happen. So, should have just let her go.
I probably should have.
And you were angry, and you slammed the car door on her.
Well, I know the door didn't touch her. I mean,
You don't know that at all.
I looked right at her.
You don't know that it didn't hit her at all. You were angry. You slammed the car door. That's what you did. That's what you did, Mr. Singleton.
Can I have Rich stand up for a sec?
No.
Because he was standing right there.
No. I believe that you slammed the car, that you were really angry, that you came in. It's one less job that you were going to do that day. You felt that she was being unreasonable, that you were told her to call at 2 o'clock. Instead of calling at 2, she called at 12, 2 hours beforehand, which took somebody away from what they were supposed to be doing in order to answer her questions when she was told not to call until 2 o'clock.
We don't tell people, you know.
Well, she was told not to call until 2, that you weren't going to have any news for her until 2 o'clock as to when her car was going to be ready. Whatever it is, you don't want a dissatisfied customer. She's not happy, she leaves. You lost your temper, and you slammed the car door, and it hurt her. It didn't hurt her $5,000 worth. Did you go to see a lawyer, by the way?
No.
Lawyer would tell her, this is not a $5,000 injury. How much out-of-pocket expense did you have?
$550.25, ma'am.
And how many days were you out of work?
3 days.
How much do you earn a day?
$136, ma'am.
Your out-of-pocket expenses are approximately $1,500. To that, I'm adding another $1,000 for your pain and suffering. That's it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Thank you,
Parties are
ma'am.
excused. You may step out.
Well, it's pretty evident the way she's crying and everything. She is a drama queen.
The whole thing was upsetting, and I'm glad that it's over now.
I think she blew everything up in her mind.
He did that to me and thought that he could do it and get away with it.
Nothing happened.
I hope that he doesn't do that to somebody else.
She referred to his size and basically called him a type of animal.
I'm just happy, and I hope he doesn't do that to somebody else.
I'm not saying that I did not get hot, but she was not just a total innocent victim.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hinkle versus Burkhardt, step forward, please.
24-year-old teacher Tanya Hinkle is suing her ex-fiancé, construction worker Shane Burkhardt, for the cost of a reception hall and for the cost of a wedding dress.
Ms. Hinkle, you and the defendant were engaged. He broke off the engagement according to your complaint. You want him to pay for some expenses that were incurred by you or your mother, down payment on a hall, dress, etc. And you want the paperwork on your engagement ring.
Yes.
What are you doing with the engagement ring?
I was going to try to sell it.
Why?
So that I could pay off the rest of the wedding, but I can't get the paperwork because the defendant won't give it to me.
Why should he give it to you? You're supposed to give the engagement ring back to him.
Yeah, well, he proposed to me and broke it off.
So what?
So I thought it was a gift.
No. An engagement ring is a ring given in contemplation of you two getting married. And if he broke it off, there must have been a reason that he had doubts. Even if he had no reason to have doubts, it was good that he decided to call it off before he married you, if he wasn't going to be a good husband. The ring goes back to him. There's no issue with regard to that. I mean, once you're married, and if you're divorced, well, then the contract has been fulfilled. You were married, the engagement ring stays with you. But before the wedding, it goes back to him. Where is it? Can I see it, please? It's lovely. Give it to him. You still paying it off?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. How much was it?
The total was $27.95, I think, was the total on it.
And if you go to sell it, how much think you're going to get for it?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it.
Maybe
Never
half.
tried, yeah. Possibly.
Maybe. You never get.
Possibly half, yeah.
Unless you're dealing with the Hope Diamond.
Right.
You know, you're not. They usually don't appreciate in value.
Right.
Everybody makes a profit. You go to sell it. Maybe you're lucky if you get half. So you're going to be out probably $1,400.
Right.
That's you on the negative side. And how much did you spend on the wedding so far?
$1146.92.
So you don't want to have to pay him any money, do you?
No.
Good. So we're going to call it even, and you're all going to go home, and you're going to say, lucky, we called it off when we should have. He lost $1,400 on the ring. You lost $1,100 on the wedding expenses. Goodbye and good luck. Thank you.
99 on the calendar in the matter of Jones versus Escada. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
I'm really a little confused with this case, but we're going to make sense of it. Miss Jones, you're suing her because you say she filed false charges against you of hit and run.
Yes.
The hit and run was not against her person, but against a car that she was driving in.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
There was an incident involving the defendant.
Yes, there was.
First, tell me when the incident happened.
The exact day, it was on or about May 1st.
Tell me about it.
I was moving back into my home, and
you were moving back into your home from where?
From a corporate leasing unit.
Okay.
I rented a 26-foot U-Haul truck. I asked the guy to help me move, and he knew the defendant's boyfriend.
Did you know this person?
Not personally, no.
How did you find this person?
Just through verbal acquaintance, just seeing him around town. He's a handyman.
What's his name?
Michael Alexander.
So you asked Michael if he would help you move?
Yes. He then got the two other guys and said, you know, they were good workers and they will also help because I had a lot of furniture.
Okay, so there were going to be 3 men.
3 men.
And you rented the U-Haul?
And I rented the U-Haul.
Where did you pick them up?
I picked them up on 3rd Street East in Lancaster, California at Michael's home.
What happened the second day?
The following day, we had agreed the previous night to meet back at Michael's house early in the morning. I did so. I arrived.
So you, again, went back to Michael's house to pick up the 3 guys?
To pick up the 3 guys. As the one of the guys was walking out, he was arguing with someone in the house. I asked him, was he okay? Did he need to stay back? He said, no, let's go. So all 4 of us got into the truck. I drove off. Went back to the house, unloaded the truck. Later on that day, I was going down Avenue K, headed westbound. He spotted his girlfriend.
Were the 3 men still in the truck?
The 3 men are in the truck. I'm driving down Avenue K, which is a main street. I'm heading westbound. He spotted his girlfriend, which apparently is a defendant.
Had you ever seen her before?
No.
Never laid eyes on her before that day? Go ahead.
And he makes a comment to another guy. He said, oh, there she goes. She's about to turn around. I quickly glanced in my rearview mirror. I didn't really see anything. A few seconds later, she was behind me on my left-hand side, honking her horn and motioning me to pull over.
What kind of car was she in?
A little blue Toyota Tercel, something compact and small.
Now, how was she telling you to pull over?
Honking her horn and motioning like this. And so then I asked the guy, I said, do you want me to pull over? He said, no, she just wants to argue, just keep going. So I did. A few seconds later, she's now on the right side of the truck.
That means she's on the passenger side of the truck.
On the passenger side of the truck. Okay, she just got over. She's doing the same thing. And I asked him again, I said, are you sure? He said, no, keep on, she'll eventually pass. And I said, okay, fine. So I keep driving. She was yelling and screaming.
What was she yelling?
You know, she was yelling profanities at him.
At him, not at you?
Not at me, okay, not at first. When she got closer to the window, though, to where, because it was a long truck, when she got closer to the window, she did call me a B. But prior to that, she was, you know, on the side of the truck yelling and screaming at him, and they flipped it. I don't know, she flipped him off, and then he flipped her back off. So then they had a flipping off match, okay? And so I kept driving, and that was that. I moved all that day, you know, nothing. And the following day, I got a call from the Palmdale Sheriff's Department, said that they wanted to come look at the vehicle because they had been involved in a hit and run.
First of all, who was that guy? Who knew me?
Speak not until I speak to you. So it is your testimony
Yes.
that at no time did you ever hit her or hit her car?
Whatsoever.
Now, were you ever arrested?
No.
What happened?
The officer came to my house. He took a photograph of me. He told me to wait there at my house, that he was going to take the picture to her. If she verified that it was me, that he was going to come back and arrest me, for me not to go anywhere, to stay home that day. And I did. I was moving anyway. He never came back that day. I didn't hear anything, so I figured, okay, it's all taken care of. About a month later, I get a notice in the mail from the DMV stating that someone has inquired as to my driving record. Then I get a letter from the Sheriff's Department stating that I need to appear in court on charges of a hit and run and property damage. And
Do you have a copy of that letter?
I don't have a copy of the letter, but I was summoned to court.
You have a copy of the summons?
No, this is the court dates and the days I appeared in court.
Am I correct, Miss Jones, that the trial in this case commenced? Jury was selected.
Yes.
The first witness was called by the people.
Yes.
That was this lady right here.
Yes.
The second witness that was called was her mother. I assume that's you.
Mother-in-law.
You're not her mother, are you?
No.
Then be quiet. Then the matter was adjourned.
Yes.
And when everybody came back, the district attorney moved to dismiss the case.
Yes.
The district attorney moved before you even had an opportunity to put on your case. At the end of their case, the district attorney said, we move to dismiss in the furtherance of justice. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, this report says that they found on your U-Haul a smudge of blue paint that was consistent with the blue paint on the car, her car.
Yes.
Can you explain that to me?
Yes, I can. When she got on the right-hand side of the truck and she was driving and cussing and carrying on, she skinned the side of the truck. At 35 miles an hour, she claimed that I hit her, that she skid and collided with me at 35 miles an hour.
I read what she said.
Okay, these are the photos.
I read the exact statement she gave to the police, which contained no information about her boyfriend being in the car, anything like that. As far as her statement to the police was concerned, you were total strangers and you totaled her car, and so may I see the photographs that you have?
In the photographs, you will see her car. The hood of it is dented and the grill is missing, but she admitted in court that that was damage that was done previously. That was not damage caused by the U-Haul. At 35 miles an hour, she wouldn't have had a front.
Okay. Now I'd like to hear you.
On May 1st, I was coming from east side. All of a sudden, I see this U-Haul truck approaching me on the opposite side. She turned to the left. I just put the steering wheel a little bit to the right. That's why she hit the car. I have my pictures right here. On the side, you can see that's when she hit it.
What's your boyfriend's name, or what was his name?
Gino.
Gino. Was Gino in the U-Haul?
No.
Really? She says there was a person driving in the car who you knew. Is that true?
No. I don't know what.
Really?
I don't know
Ms. Jones.
what she's talking about. Yes. I don't know who's this guy. No.
You know who that person is?
No. Even when I went to trial, they asked me. I didn't know him.
What about Michael?
Yes, I know. That's the guy I knew.
You have Michael's telephone number?
Yes, I do.
I'll take it. Now, why do you believe that the district attorney moved to dismiss the case after you and your mother testified?
I don't know.
You have no idea? All right. What's your name, by the way?
Gino.
Gino! You weren't in the U-Haul at that day, were you?
Nope. And I've been with her for 19 months.
Okay. Well, let me go see if I can get in touch with Michael.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I want to see this person and to identify me, and I'll do the same thing to him. I am not going to let these people lie. No.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Monica Jones says Martha Escada falsely accused her of hit and run. She claims Martha was trying to pull a scam.
Well, Michael isn't there, but maybe I can get some information from the district attorney. By the way, do you have any photographs of your cars?
Yes, and I have another question. Who's this guy that she's telling you that that guy knew me? I want to see this guy, and I want to see if he is telling the truth. I don't know this guy. I don't know what she's talking about. I mean, bring the guy, tell me to my face that he knew me, and I'll tell to his face that I knew him too.
The question is not whether this guy knew you, madam. The question is whether you pulled up on the side of her truck. There was somebody in the car that you wanted to talk to. She wouldn't pull over, and then you claimed that she hit your vehicle and took off. She says that the U-Haul, it did in fact come in contact with your car, but it was because you were driving like a nut. So
Nope.
I want to see what the district attorney
That
has to
is
say.
not
If
true.
I can find the district attorney's name here, Richard Quinones. Let's see if we can locate him. And you have the paperwork while we're getting, see if we can get the
I have the
number.
police
You have the
report right
paperwork?
here, and I have pictures of my car.
Okay, let me see.
Also wanted to show the character when the police went to serve her. She said they didn't live there, and they do.
They didn't live where?
Initially, when they went to serve her, and she said, "Oh, no one's here by that name. No one
Okay,
lives
about
here."
that.
And then the 10 days, my lost in pay, I brought my pay stub.
Just a second.
Okay.
I have to first find out whether these are false charges.
Okay.
That's what I have to find out.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
I mean, I wish I could get in touch with old Michael. That would make things easy. But since I can't, and you don't know the names of any of the other people.
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, why don't you have a seat?
Is it okay if I...
Yes, is Mr. Quinones there,
Yo
please?
estaba discutiendo con ellos y yo me puse a un lado de ella.
Very good. Thank you very much, sir. I haven't been able to reach either the district attorney at this hour, nor Mr. Alexander, but I'm going to try.
Okay.
So I want you to just hang around, and I'll see you back here as soon as we are able to get either one of these two people who should be
Okay, I
able
just
to
gave
give.
my cell phone number.
You have a cell phone number for whom?
Michael Alexander.
Oh, that's perfect. Maybe we can do that. Yes.
When they went to serve me to that address, I moved since December. So I don't live in that address anymore. I live in Lake LA.
It's not important. Why is that important?
Because she said that when they went looking for me at that address, somebody told the police officer that...
And I
there's no
told her
one-
that wasn't important.
Okay.
The only thing that's important to me is whether or not you knew or appeared to have known someone who was driving in the truck with her on that date. And I would be also curious to find out why the district attorney moved on their own motion to dismiss this case after you and your mother testified. So we'll see you back here.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, I managed to speak to the assistant district attorney who handled the case. And after speaking to the assistant district attorney, he did in fact confirm to me that after the two of you testified, he decided to go out and have a personal look at the car that you say was damaged by the plaintiff. And after he made this personal inspection of the car, he believed that the damages to the car were inconsistent with the testimony that the two of you gave in court before she even had to put on her case. So he doubted your word, especially yours. That's number one. Number two, we were in fact successful in securing Michael Alexander's presence here for the recall. So, Bert, I believe Mr. Alexander is outside. Would you bring him in, please?
Sure thing. Michael Alexander?
Would you swear the witness, please?
Sure thing. Sir, raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth in the matters before you?
Yes, sir.
State your name for the record.
Michael Alexander.
Mr. Alexander, prior to coming into court just now, did you speak to Miss Jones?
Yes.
Did she tell you the questions that she thought I would be asking you?
No.
Okay. You helped her move sometime in, when was it, May?
Yes.
And you had a couple of other people that you had gotten to help
Yes,
her?
ma'am.
Who were those other people?
Keith and Jose.
Do you know their last names?
No. I met them at labor.
There came a time that Miss Jones came to your house to pick you up.
Yes.
And these two other men were with you in the truck and you moved one day.
Yes.
Do you remember the second day of your move?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember an incident involving this young lady right here?
Yes.
Look at me and tell me what you remember.
Well, I remember that we was traveling down Avenue K after we dropped off her furniture at her house and was headed back to the storage. And Jose said, that's my girlfriend. And I seen her throw a U-turn.
Jose, put your hand down. Jose said, that's my girlfriend.
Yes.
Where was she when he said, that's my girlfriend?
She was headed east coming down Avenue K.
And what happened next?
She threw a U-turn, and she came up on the U-Haul, and she was driving all erratic and fast. She was flashing her lights and blowing her horn and doing hand signals up out the window. And
did Jose say anything to her?
He said, don't. Well, she asked him, do you want me to pull over? And he said, no, don't stop. She just wanted to argue. And so we kept going.
Did you see Jose after the move? Have you seen him since?
No.
Have not?
No, ma'am.
Is there any question in your mind that this was the young lady in the car?
No.
Look at me. What color car was she driving?
Blue.
You sure about that?
Yes.
Okay. If you have any questions for Mr. Alexander, you can ask me and I will ask him.
Okay. Who is this guy, Jose? I don't know nobody by that name, Jose. And I'm not going to let these people get away with it because they're lying. No. I want to see this person and to identify me, and I'll do the same thing to him. I am not going to let these people lie. No.
Miss Jones, I've been involved in the criminal justice system for a very long time. And I'll tell you right now, very rarely does a district attorney who takes a case to trial, impanels a jury of 12 people, wastes court time, expends time in preparing a case. Very rarely does a district attorney stand up at the end of their case and say, we don't believe our witnesses to the extent that we're moving to dismiss this case because we don't even want it to go any further. I mean, maybe on one hand I can remember that amount of time. This district attorney didn't believe you, didn't believe your mother about what happened. And I don't know who Jose is, but I certainly see the pictures of your car, and I've listened to her testify. I believe her. That's all I have to believe. I believe that you were having some sort of an argument with a guy who was in that U-Haul it, and you were behaving erratically. She wouldn't pull over. You got ticked off. You called, and I believe that there was contact with the U-Haul. There's no question in my mind that there was contact with the U-Haul. It was your fault. And maybe you thought you could make a couple of bucks. No. That's what I think. That's what I think. And the fact that you called the police. Have you ever been incarcerated before, Miss Jones?
No.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an accountant.
I think that not only did you cause her trouble, because I looked at how many times she had to appear in court based upon your phone call to the police that was fraudulent. She had to appear in court. She had to be embarrassed. There's a certain embarrassment about it. When it was your fault and you lied. And she's entitled to what she's asking for, which is $5,000. And I'm entering a judgment for that. $5,000 for the plaintiff. That's all. Step back.
Now, this is case number 184 on the calendar in the matter of Brooks versus Stout.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Ms. Brooks, these are your two sons? Mm-hmm. And you're here only because they're minors.
Yes, ma'am.
You weren't present during this incident, is that right?
No.
Why don't you have a seat? And this is your son?
Yes.
And you're here because he's a minor?
Correct.
And you weren't there during the course of this incident,
Correct.
even though if I find in the plaintiff's favor, you're going to have to pay the judgment. But you weren't there. So why don't you have a seat?
Thank you.
Now I have before me the idiots. So you're in one car and you're in another car.
No. I was staying on the side of the road.
Tell me what happened, Justin.
We was driving around the square.
Listen to me. How old are you?
16.
Do you go to school?
Yes, I do.
You were driving around.
We were driving around the loop, and we was at a stop sign, and a truck...
You were at a stop sign?
Yes. And a truck was in front of me, and a truck was behind me, and they blocked me in. I couldn't move. And, like, 6 or 7 girls came up kicking out my car, and I couldn't move or anything. And then all of a sudden I see Tyson running up to my car, and
How many people were in your car?
it was me, Dustin, and my ex-girlfriend.
Now, did you know these people in the trucks that were blocking you?
No, I don't.
Where had you been that evening?
I was at my girlfriend's house because that was her birthday.
So did she have a party?
No, it was just
You were
we
just.
yes. I guess.
Go ahead.
Well, it wasn't actually a party. It was just hanging out at her house, and we decided to go cruising, so we went up cruising.
What's cruising?
Well, cruising the loop, like driving around listening
Cruising
to
the
music.
what?
Loop.
Cruising the loop.
Yeah.
What is your version of having fun?
Listening to music and talking to people on the square. That's when that accident happened.
What accident?
That when we got pretty much jumped.
So far, what you've told me is a bunch of girls came up to your car and started to kick the car.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Let's pick it up from there.
Well, he kicked off the window.
But I thought the girls were kicking the
Well,
car.
they were, and then he ran up to the car, kicked the window out, and then...
Which window?
It was the passenger right window.
Pretty high kick.
Yeah.
He kicked the window out.
Yeah.
Go ahead, and then what happened?
And then Dustin was getting out of the car to run, and then Tyson cut his arm.
How did Tyson cut his arm?
I didn't see it because I was.
You didn't see it?
I was driving, so.
You didn't see it. Is that right?
That's right.
So then we go to Dustin.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you twins?
Yes, ma'am.
You always dress alike?
No, ma'am.
Did you do that especially for me today?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you thought it would
Yes, ma'am.
confuse me?
No, ma'am.
You're Dustin.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened to you.
When I was getting out,
What were you getting out for?
to run because there were so many kids around. I ain't sticking around.
Just a minute. How many kids were around?
Probably 15.
What were they doing around your car?
Actually, I don't know. They don't like me.
Dustin, something tells me something happened before that, Dustin.
Actually, there was nothing happened. They don't like us because in the past there was the girls.
Who's we?
Me and Justin. The girls that they was going out with their boyfriends and everything, and they didn't like us. And
I want you to, at all times when you're testifying, I want you to look in my eyes.
Yes, ma'am.
So the girls didn't like you because they were going out with their boyfriends and blah, 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 blah. I didn't get anything after that. That made sense.
Because we get in fights with them because they don't like us, okay? So
you get in fights with the girls or the boys?
The boys. And so the women hates us for that.
So the girls hate you?
Yes.
Why do you get in fights with the boys, Dustin?
Because I don't know how to read and they pick on me and I ain't taking nobody's crap. It's that. And that's the reason.
And so, because of that, you think that these people don't like you. You don't say anything to them.
No.
You never start up with them.
No.
Does your brother know how to read?
No.
Is there any reason?
Yeah, I don't know. I think.
What do
there
you
is.
mean you don't know? Do you go for special tutoring?
Yes.
For how long?
For how long? Since we was in kindergarten?
Do you go to school every day?
Yes, ma'am.
Every day?
Not every day, no.
Dustin, don't throw the bull at me. Because if you can drive a car, I assume you have a license, you had to take a test. You had to take, as part of the test, a written test.
We didn't take a written test, ma'am.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
How come?
Because we don't know how to read.
So they allowed you to drive a car without knowing how to read. Stop, go, hazard ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
What state is that?
It's Iowa.
I'm staying out of there. How often do you go to school? Once a week, maybe?
No, ma'am.
The reason why we go probably once a week is because we don't get taught nothing, because they didn't teach us timetables or multiplication tables or anything like that.
So now you stay home and cruise.
No, I don't cruise anymore.
So tell me what happened, Dustin, after you were going to get out of the car and run.
Well, I put my left arm up on...
Watch, right here.
I put my left arm up on the door, and I was looking down to push myself up out of the car, and Tyson come up and cut my arm. And I look at him, I see the knife in his hand, and he took off running with everybody else took off running, and Justin tells me to get back in the car, sit down. By then the truck was in front of us, was gone. We took off, went to the hospital.
You went to the
I
hospital?
got 5 stitches, and there's pictures and stuff like that my mom has.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
One of my friends told me because he was going out with one of the girls at the time that they liked. They threatened to kill his baby before.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-olds Justin and Dustin Brooks claim 17-year-old Tyson Stout attacked them with a knife. Tyson says the twins threatened to kill his friend's baby.
Now, were you charged with assault?
No, ma'am.
What were you charged with?
Burglary in the 2nd degree.
Burglary?
Forcing entry into an occupied structure.
Tyson, I want you to tell me, and I want you to be very careful, Tyson, because, you know, I already got their story. I want you to tell me your version. By the way, you go to school in Iowa?
I don't go to school. I got my GED. I'm starting college in February.
Does anybody ever finish high school in your jurisdiction?
No.
No. All right. Tell me what you were doing standing on the side of the road, and what was going on at the side of the road where these guys were cruising?
Me and some friends were just standing around.
Listen, you're starting college next year?
Yeah. Some friends and I.
Yeah.
They're standing around talking, having fun, and then these two, they just keep on driving around mouthing and
Mouthing what?
just calling us names and
Like
running
what?
holes, stuff like that. The F word,
And how many times did they drive around?
probably 2 or 3.
Any of that sound familiar to you? Justin and Dustin?
No, because
Go ahead.
And about the 3rd time they pulled around, we had a car, not a truck, stop them. And one of my friends told me, sticking up for one of my friends, one of them told me that they threatened to kill his baby before because he was going out with one of the girls at the time that they liked, and she had a baby. And he told me that.
How old was this genius?
At 18.
Go ahead.
I was going to go up and say something to him. He rolled up the window real quick, got mad, kicked the car door.
You went up to the car because you were really mad because a friend of yours told you that somebody disrespected somebody.
Threatened
who
his family.
Threatened his baby.
Yeah.
So that you went up to the car to confront them, which was very
Wrong.
stupid.
Yeah.
And then he did the smart thing. He rolled up the window
Yes.
because he had been doing a very stupid thing, cruising around and calling people names and, you know, just being a general Tweedledum and Tweedledee, being two idiots, right?
Yes.
Because I expect the truth from you. I really expect the whole truth from you. From them, I didn't get the truth so far. All I got from them was they were just driving around being very mild young men because they suffer from a handicap, because they can't read, because they have a disability, because despite the fact that they go to school every day and try very, very hard to learn, they can't learn to read, right?
Yep.
So I expect the truth from you. And you went up to the car, and how many times did you kick the car?
Once.
And when you kicked the car once, did you break the window?
Yes.
What happened next?
I ran to a friend's car, got in the car, and left.
Did you at any time cut Dustin with a knife?
No, ma'am.
Were you ever charged with cutting him with a knife?
No, ma'am.
Anybody have a police report?
Your Honor, I went to get a police report, but they couldn't release it because he was a juvenile.
Nobody has a police report.
I couldn't get one.
Now, you were found guilty of whatever, of vandalizing the car, which you did kick at least once. Burglary.
Yes.
Was this the first time you were convicted of anything, or have you been convicted of something before?
I've had possession of alcohol charge before and assault causing injury before.
Assaulting whom?
A kid is picking on my little sister.
And what did you do to him?
Put him in a headlock, slammed him into the locker.
Tyson, you got to learn to control yourself.
I have.
Do you understand that?
Yes.
Well, you haven't. At least you didn't on that evening, because you went up to the car for no reason. This fight didn't concern you at all.
No.
And you went up there and kicked their car. Now, according to you, Justin, there were a lot of girls around there who were kicking your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you charge any of them?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because I was not going to get out of my car because there was too many of them, and I'm not going to get out of my car to hit a girl.
I didn't ask you why you didn't hit him. I asked you why you didn't tell the police that there were a lot of people there kicking your car, making dents in your car before he came.
We did.
To the
I did,
car.
ma'am.
Did you have damage to your car?
Not by the girls.
How do you know that?
Because I live on a gravel road with and I had a lot of dust on my car, and there was no dents or anything.
So the only damage that was done to your car was him knocking the window out of your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
And when I was trying to get out of the car, I accidentally put my foot through, like, where my speaker was, because my foot got caught.
What were you trying to get out of the car for?
Because I was going to run.
15 people around you and you were going to run? Or were you going to fight them?
I was going to run.
Have you ever been arrested before?
Yes, ma'am.
For what?
Fighting.
There's no such crime in the penal law as fighting.
Assault.
There's assault in the penal law. And you?
Same thing.
Assault.
Yes.
How many times, Justin, have you been arrested for assault?
Numerous times.
And you, Dustin?
Same thing.
How many times have you been found guilty of assault?
Every time. Because I committed to him.
What do you mean you committed to him?
I said guilty. I told him that I did it. I didn't lie about it.
But you don't learn. Can I see the paperwork on the order of conviction for burglary and any other paperwork that you have with regard to a court order by a judge? Moms, you can stand up now. I want to see it. Tyson, how come you lied initially?
So I didn't want to get in trouble for it.
Who did you lie to, please?
My JCO.
What's JCO?
Juvenile court officer.
And when you lied to the juvenile court officer initially, Tyson, did you lie to him the same kind of face that you're lying to me?
No.
I want you to show me your lying face.
Grin.
What?
I have a grin on my face when I lie.
Really? He believed you when you lied to him initially, right?
Yep.
It's just sometimes hard to figure out who's lying and who's not.
Yep.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Ah, all right. Because the first time you spoke to your juvenile officer, you told me you didn't know. I don't know. I wasn't there. Well, after you had this problem in 1999, Tyson, you were expelled from school for another problem with another student. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Got a bad temper?
Yep.
Now I'd like to see the paperwork you have as a result of this incident.
I just got medical bills here.
So you didn't turn it in to your insurance?
The hospital didn't turn it in, no.
I'm surprised. Why not?
That I have no idea. They didn't turn it in. The insurance cards was there, but they never turn it in.
Well, they will. They will. They should. And your boys are covered?
They're covered.
Now I'd like you to come up here, Dustin, because I want to take a look at your arm.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the scar?
Yeah, big one right there. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Tyson, I have to make a judgment whether or not you actually cut Dustin with a knife. And it is my belief that you did. Because when somebody is injured like that, and there's no question, I've read the hospital records, and there's no question he had a laceration, and there's no question that he had sutures. When that happens, you want the person who is responsible to be prosecuted. Now, you were, in fact, charged with assault with a weapon. The fact that you pled guilty to cover all the charges and the rest of the charges were dismissed doesn't mean that you were found not guilty of those charges. It means that you pled. It means that you pled out.
Plea bargain.
That's right. Look how smart you're getting. You also have a temper. Now, these two idiots were driving around, and their mother knows that they were driving around doing the wrong thing, right?
Well, yeah.
They were doing the wrong thing, but that doesn't give you license to take out even a pocket knife, which is what you took out, and cut him. Doesn't give you license to do that. You're lucky. You're lucky that they let you get away with it.
But I didn't stab him, ma'am.
Yes, you did. You stabbed him. You didn't stab him. You cut him. I mean, stabbing is this way.
His ex-girlfriend came up to me last week and apologized for lying to the cops about it.
Listen, you tell me who cut him.
Nobody did.
Sure they did. He was cut.
He cut himself.
How?
With a knife.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
You think that he's dumb enough to do that? I mean, it's possible.
Yes, I do.
It's possible that he's dumb enough to do that. Possible. I don't think so. And the problem is that you put yourself in the situation by going over, getting involved in a situation that you had absolutely no reason to be involved with. Somebody said something made you mad. You went up to the car, kicked the car, knocked the window out. Stupid. The fact that you started it because you were looking for trouble, driving around, shouting out of the car, you were with your girlfriend, it was her birthday, your mother shouldn't have let you drive a car anyway. They don't go to school. You explain to me why they don't go to school.
They've been on add and subtract since they've been in 2nd grade, and I'm tired of it. 95% of the kids in Iowa get their GED.
In any event, I find that you cut them. I also find that they're a little bit culpable themselves and that they had no out-of-pocket expenses with regard to this injury because the insurance is going to cover it. Now, did he pay for breaking the window?
No, I've got the estimate on.
Just tell me how much it was for breaking the window.
The window is at $189, but I've got pictures of other damages that was done to the car.
I don't care what the other damage was done to the car. There were 12 girls around the car that they chose not to identify because your son said, well, we live on a dirt road and the car was very dirty. He went up, he kicked the car, he kicked the window out of the car, and there were 12 other people involved. So it's $189 for the car and $1,000 for cutting him. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,189. That's all.
Now, this is case number 218 on the calendar in the matter of Irizarry versus Irizarry. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat. Ma'am, you also.
Miss Irizarry, I'm going to make short shrift of one part of your case, and that has to do with rent, this little tidbit of rent that you want from the defendant, who's your brother. I want to stay with the claim for the destroyed motorcycle, because that's really the basis of your claim, the destroyed motorcycle. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There's your claim. Your brother doesn't deny that he was riding on your motorcycle. He totaled it. Damage was substantial to the motorcycle, over $3,000. His defense is that you should have had better insurance. And, shh, is that right? And he is counterclaiming because he says if you had better insurance, he wouldn't have had to have paid all the medical bills when he was injured when he had this accident with your motorcycle. So that is his counterclaim, and he is counterclaiming for $5,000. Is that right, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
When did you get this motorcycle, Miss Irizarry?
Actually 2 months before he wrecked it on me.
And how much did you pay for it?
$3,500.
You have the bill?
No. I don't have the bill, but actually I have, from the place that I bought it from, papers of the same year and same bike and same model for the price.
Who did you buy it from?
A private owner.
Tell me about the day that your brother borrowed it.
He usually takes it. He'll ask us to borrow it, and he always tells us if anything ever happens, he'll go ahead and he'll pay $3,000 for the bike if anything ever happened to the bike. The day he asked me to borrow it...
when did he say that? Do you mean, sis, can I borrow your bike, and if anything happens to it, I'll pay you $3,000? Is that what he says?
Well, in Florida...
I want to know. I'm asking you.
Well, what happened is in Florida, you don't need insurance on a motorcycle, and I told him...
You didn't answer my question.
Go ahead.
So you mean what your brother said to you was, sis, can I borrow your bike, and if anything happens to the bike, I'm going to give you $3,000. That's what he said.
After I hesitated a couple of times, yes.
Huh?
After I hesitated a couple of times, yes, that's what he said.
Now, on what date did he borrow the bike when it was in this accident?
June 6th of 2002.
Tell me about that date.
Actually, that day, he just, like normal, asked to borrow the bike, and he went on his way. I was with his girlfriend and my fiancé, and we were going to a swimming pool, and one of his buddies had told us that he seen our bike on the side of the road with 2 police cars around it, and that was pretty much it. We drove up to the scene where it was. My brother wasn't there at the time. The bike was crashed. The 2 officers were there, were actually on their way to charge my brother with reckless driving before we got there. And he is, at the time, was a fellow officer, and I guess he knew one of the officers there and kind of got my brother out of that. And we went to the hospital. We went to the hospital.
I'm sure he's really pleased that you just advised me of that.
Well,
go ahead.
Being honest. And and we pretty much met him at the hospital. The cops informed us that we had the tow truck coming on their way to tow the bike, and it was undrivable. And that was pretty much it. And I went to the hospital.
And he was in the hospital?
Yes.
How long did you stay in the hospital?
4 hours.
4 hours? What'd they do for you?
They just cleaned the wounds and sent me on my way. I was down for about a little shy of 2 months. Couldn't work, couldn't move.
Why couldn't you work?
because I had road rash all over my whole body.
So you borrowed your sister's bike, you totaled it. Go ahead. Let me hear you.
The day I had borrowed the bike, I was asked to drive the motorbike to see if there was any knocking noise. Her and her boyfriend had asked me to test drive the bike to see if it does any noises. I took it for a quick ride. On my way back, I was going over railroad tracks. The back tire popped out on me. I tried to control the bike. I couldn't control it. And it says I was swerving in and out of the lanes. The total distance from the tracks to where the bike was 370 feet. I only slid about 50 feet to 75 the most. And then after that, when I got into the hospital, I told her I got AAA, drove back to the house, put it in a bargain trader, we're on eBay, because she had got rid of a car with a blown motor that way. I said, we'll do it that way too.
I don't know what you're talking about. What gibberish are you talking about?
Neither do I.
I told her not to put the bike in the junkyard, not to tow it back to the house, and I'll be able to sell it. So that way, you know, it's not all the way money out of pocket. So here I am. I'm sitting here thinking about, well, shouldn't she have insurance on it or provided me with a helmet or anything? And the back tire was totally bald, and it started showing spots to the back tire.
Had you ever used this motorcycle before, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times before had you used it?
Quite a few. Sometimes I was stuck with the bike. Sometimes she would ask.
Shh,
You
don't
ran
speak.
out of gas.
Don't speak. I'm talking to him. Had you used it more than 10 times?
Oh, yes.
More than 20 times?
About, yes.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
How is your vision?
Good.
Really good?
Yeah.
Good vision. Good enough so that you can tell if a tire is bald or not, right?
Right, but...
Don't say but me no buts. But me no buts. So on this particular date, you say you had not borrowed the bike, but you were asked to do a test drive on the bike.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Baloney.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You were going so fast, the bike was airborne, sir.
Right.
Right.
And it also says...
Shut. That's what it says.
And later today,
You ultimately returned the dress to her in a shopping bag.
Yes.
Rob!
Right. No, you're right. You're exactly right.
That's why I'm here.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Was Christina's fault.
Let me see the paperwork she has with regard to a bike of similar condition. Then I may just cut it in half because I don't believe a word she says about how much she paid for it, because any normal person has some bill of sale with regard to a bike.
I also have a police report stating that he was driving recklessly and 2 written witnesses on the report.
Can I see the police report, please?
Yes. It even says that when he hit the track tire, how can he actually go in the air?
I'm going to ask you this question. I know that you don't need insurance, and certainly I'm going to take his counterclaim. I'm speaking. Don't you understand that?
Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You may be younger, but I'm smarter.
Definitely.
All I really want to do is read this so that I can yell at him a little bit more and then figure out how much I'm going to give you for your bike. And then I'll let you go with your fiancé, and your fiancé is going to get you outside and say to you, how could you have talked about my job like that? Right? In front of all those people, that he got him off on a charge? Wait until he gets you outside. Explain to her the ramifications of that, sir. Not smart, you know. Well, there are witnesses here that say that you were going so fast the bike was airborne, sir.
Right.
Right.
And it also says...
That's what it says.
Also,
Anyway, you borrow somebody's property, you don't take good care of it, you got to pay for it. The fact that she is not required to have insurance in the state where you live is kind of ridiculous, because if he had used your bike and instead of just hurting himself, he had killed somebody else, you know who they would come after?
Me.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I probably think you got a good deal on this bike and paid maybe $2,500 for it, and that's what you're going to get. As far as your counterclaim is concerned, it's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Absolutely the dumbest thing I ever heard. You did the wrong thing.
Well, I'm suing her because of the tire, not because of the insurance.
Listen to me. The tire was bald?
That's right.
There's a term in the law called assumption of risk. Let me tell you what that means. That means that if you do something that's dumb, you assume the risk and the consequences of your actions. Now, unless you can tell me that her eyesight is so much better than yours and you could not see that this tire was bald, according to your testimony, you drove this bike at least 20 times in the 2 months that she owned the bike.
That's right.
And that if you were going to get on the bike and if you knew that the tire was bald, because you could see that the tire was bald, then you shouldn't have gotten on the bike. You should say, sis, I'm not going to do a test drive on this bike until you put a new tire on it because the tire's no good. But if you get on the bike, knowing that the tire is bald, you assume the risk of anything that happens. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Got me out of a ticket. She was being reckless. I don't think I was reckless driving.
We don't talk no more.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Sharon versus Johnston. Step forward, please.
18-year-old student Courtney Sharon is suing her former co-worker, 25-year-old animal hospital manager Felicia Johnston, for destroying her homecoming gown.
Miss Sharon, according to your complaint, you loaned the defendant a dress. It was a formal dress that you had worn to your homecoming party or something, some other such thing. And she returned it eventually ruined. You want her to pay $500. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. I returned
And Miss I didn't ask anything yet. And Miss Johnston, is your claim that you believe that she didn't want the dress back when she ultimately said she wanted it back, you put it in a bag, and you gave it back to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did you lend her the dress? Under what circumstances did you lend her the dress, and when did you ask for it back?
I lent her the dress. It was around August of 2001 when she was hired at the clinic, and she was my
What
boss.
clinic?
Talgie Road Veterinary Clinic. It's a member of the Pet's Choice Company. They have
So she was hired at the same place that you were working?
Yes.
How come she asked you for a dress? Tell me
There
when.
was a Pet's Choice event that she needed a formal gown for, and of the people who worked at the clinic, I was most close to her size, I guess.
Where were you when she asked? I mean,
we were at
alone?
work. So
Were you? I know you have a fixed agenda. Listen to me. Did she come to you individually and ask you for a dress, or did she say to a group of people, anybody have a dress I can borrow?
it was in a group setting, but she asked me specifically.
And you said?
I said, as long as you return it dry cleaned in the condition that I loaned it to you, which didn't seem like it would be that difficult to do, then I don't mind.
Fine.
You know, I really didn't want to, but she's my boss, so.
How many times had you worn it?
I had worn it once for about 3 hours, and it had been dry cleaned afterwards and kept in a cedar closet, wrapped
Is that
up.
the way you gave it to the defendant?
Yes. I have photographs of the dress, you know, what it looked like when I loaned it to you. And
when did you first ask for it back?
About 2 weeks after she wore it, and she said that it was at the dry cleaners, which I assumed to be a pretty logical explanation to where the dress was.
Okay, good. And so you asked for it 2 weeks later, and then again?
Again, about a month later, and then about 2 months later, and 3 months later. And in the meantime, she started to sabotage my job, and I quit. And at that point, I really got after her about getting it back, and she kept saying it was at the dry cleaners. She wasn't real specific.
Let me see the dress. Bert, could I
If
see
you'll
the
look
dress,
at
please?
the bottom hem, she pulled it down and then tried to hot glue it back together, and
Can I
the
see
lining
it?
is ripped.
Bert, would you hand this back to the plaintiff and ask her to point out on the dress where it's ruined?
Thank you. There's little rips and tears in the fabric, but the thing
No,
that,
I want you to show me exactly where.
Okay.
The big thing that you're talking about is what?
if you look at the bottom hem, it's totally seared off right here, and it's been let go. There's a big rip right there, and the stem has been let down and then tried to reattach with hot glue.
She's shorter than you are.
I don't know why she would do this.
Listen to me. She put a hem on your dress.
Yes, with hot glue. And also, there's these huge, huge rips in the lining.
Well, she did that because she couldn't shorten the dress without cutting the lining.
Yeah, and
Right?
then there's
Right?
a big old rip
Actually,
right here.
I didn't. I can't hem. I can't sew.
Apparently
I have no
not, because
creative.
she used hot glue
No, no,
to hem.
I'm not speaking to you.
Yeah.
I have no creative bone in my body. I didn't hem it. I wear. I mean,
Just
I
a
wear
minute.
big heels.
Just a second.
Okay.
Clearly, the dress was, somebody
Right.
attempted to make the dress shorter. Could have been Velcro that somebody tried to iron.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
There was in the lining right there, because when I stepped up on a step, I had on big heels, and I did step on the lining, and it did tear the lining.
So then you tried to
But that
fix
was the only thing that was torn was the lining, and I did try to fix the lining, yes. But since
Okay.
it's mesh, you can't really
Oh, okay.
sew it.
Would you like to see
Yes. Now let me take a look.
And if I can have my mom, she'll testify to the condition it was returned in. The dress,
Well, I
I
see it
wouldn't
now. You
loan
didn't have
it
it
out
clean.
the way that it looked.
You didn't have it clean, did you?
No.
Oh, okay.
She didn't either.
Oh, I see what happened. Your heel went through the dress.
Right.
It's happened to me.
If she would
But
have
I
just
was wearing my own
fessed up,
dress.
it would have been
held
okay.
in short.
Okay. Here you go. Thank you. Give it back to her. Okay. How did she return it to you?
It was wadded up in a plastic grocery bag, and it wasn't handed to me. It was thrown at me by Sandy.
Okay.
And
Who's
she
Sandy?
told me
This
she didn't
one?
want to hear anything else about the
Yes,
damn
ma'am.
dress.
This is Sandy.
This is
And
Sandy.
it was given to you in a shopping bag, grocery bag.
Right.
Okay, Miss Johnson, I'll hear from you.
Basically, I was invited to a play that we had to do for work. And we were in my office, and we were discussing that I needed a dress. Never asked anybody for a dress. I have one at home that I was talking about. I just needed a shawl. The next day, she came in with a dress that had a shawl, and she said, I have this one. She is known for kissing up and what have you with the doctors that had worked there before I got there. So she brought me in this dress, and I was like, well, you know, I don't feel comfortable borrowing a dress. And she said, well, don't worry about it. I don't wear it anymore. I've only worn it once. So I borrowed it. A week later, I mean, you know, I borrowed it. It was at home. A week later, she asked me about it, and I said, yes, I was going to get it dry cleaned for you. There was no agreement beforehand. I said, yes, I was going to get it dry cleaned for you. She said, don't worry about it. I won't ever wear it again anyway.
You ultimately returned the dress to her in a shopping bag.
Yes.
Wrong!
Right. No, you're right. You're exactly right.
That's why I'm here.
Right. But
that's why I'm here. You borrow a dress, you do the responsible thing. If you're the responsible adult, and she's the young associate, you do the responsible thing. You borrow a dress, you wear it, you take it to the cleaners, you have it cleaned, and you return it.
Right.
Now, you were probably embarrassed because you would rip the dress, sort of let it slide. That doesn't mean that your dress, Miss Sharon, appreciates in value. It's not an antique. Let me explain something to you. You didn't spend $500 for that dress.
I spent more than that. I have records and everything.
Oh, well, I'd like to see.
Okay, we
I'd
went
like to see the bill and the check that you wrote for that dress for $500.
We don't have the bill and the check because you can't return formal gowns, but about a week ago, my grandmother went to the Jessica McClintock store.
Listen to me.
Yes.
I want to see your check or a paid bill for how much you paid for the dress.
Your Honor, Sandy was there. I asked Courtney, I said, okay, it was a misunderstanding. When I asked you or told you about the dress, she said, don't worry about it. I won't ever wear it again. So I didn't. I mean, I honestly didn't. I go to work. I go to school. I have a 3.5-year-old.
I don't care.
Whatever. Yeah. So anyways, so she told me the dress was $150. The dress was $150. Sandy heard it. So I said, okay, well, since it was a misunderstanding, I'll pay you $75. That was before she quit. I went to a meeting 2 days later. I get a call from my receptionist, whoever, saying that Courtney never showed back up for work again, blah, 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 blah. Her mother starts calling saying she's a marketing saleswoman and needs the number to my corporate office. They're writing letters, trying to get my corporation to pay for it. The dress went from $150 to $300 to $500 to $700.
She ruined the dress.
Exactly.
She ruined the dress. She didn't ruin the dress on purpose, by the way, by putting her heel through it.
No,
of course that was. She didn't ruin it on purpose. But if she would have said to you immediately, listen, I ruined the dress. There's no point in having it cleaned because you're not going to be able to wear it because you're taller than I am.
Yes, ma'am.
It's going to be, unless you put beading all around the bottom or something else, which you could do. I mean, if you ever wanted to wear this dress again, you can do it. There is a way of fixing it. But that would
we need to
involve
talk
you.
because I do want to do that.
What?
I would, if I could in any way salvage this gown.
Oh, you can salvage it.
Yes.
Believe me, I've looked at it. Other than the bottom, which you need because you're a little tall. I'm speaking. Don't you understand when I'm speaking? I'm not interested in what you're saying. And neither is he. You can save that dress if that's what you want. And I believe you can save that dress for $250. You can put a nice border on the bottom and have it clean for $25, and then you have a brand new dress that you put back. So I'm giving you a judgment for $250 because I think that the dress is worth at least that in salvage. That's all.
Case number 182 on the calendar in the matter of Hill versus Johnston.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Hill, it is your claim that the defendant was negligent in taking care of the cats that he was supposed to be sitting for while you were on vacation. You had vet bills, you wanted to pay for emotional distress, for damage done to your apartment, all to the tune of $5,000.
Yep.
Mr. Johnson says he did the best he could under the circumstances. When did you make this arrangement with Mr. Johnston to take care of your cats?
This would be probably in about July of last year.
And how many cats do you have?
At that time, I had 21.
21 cats, and how large a space?
I think the house is about 2,000 square feet.
And how did you know the defendant?
He was my boyfriend at the time, and actually he insisted on watching the cats. He was at my house almost every night, and he went through my feeding rituals and everything, and because he was my boyfriend, and we'd spoken about getting married or living together. It was just, that's what he wanted to do, and that was fine with me because we were...
Where were you going?
I was going to Connecticut to visit my relatives.
So this was voluntary on his part. You weren't paying him to do this. He was doing it because he cared about you.
Right.
Why don't you tell me why you think he is responsible for any damage and what the damage was in your house as a result of his caring for your cats?
Okay. When he came to the airport to pick me up in my car, which I had never given him permission to drive.
That's not true.
When I came home and I opened the door, I also have a dog. The dog was not very happy to see me. When I opened the door to the main part of the house, I didn't see any cats. There were no cats that would come out to see me, and I was concerned about that because they're very happy. They love me and I love them. Well, bit by bit, I came upon them, and after about an hour, I found one cat, and I didn't find all of them. It turns out 6 were missing. In the end count, 6 were gone. I found one, and something was wrong with its tail. There was blood on it. And I said, "What happened to my cat?" He said, "I don't know. I don't know." So I went through the house, still, trying to find what happened, find them. And then he told me that one of them had died when I was gone. And I got very upset because I said, I was not told. Why didn't you call me? Why didn't you tell me, what happened? He said, "I just came home and it was dead." So I did at that point, I was very upset. I was actually getting hysterical. I didn't want him around. I wanted him to leave my house. I was screaming at him to leave the house. He wouldn't leave. Eventually what he did is to make me be quiet. He pushed me. I pushed away from him, wound up on the floor, and he was choking me, and he was cutting off my air supply. And he said that, I can't remember if he said he would break my neck or he would kill me if I didn't stop screaming. I couldn't get him to leave my house. I went into my living room and I locked the door, and I just stayed in there. I don't know where I don't know if he slept in his van or what, but anyway, that was Saturday night, Sunday morning. The next day was Labor Day. I couldn't take the cat to the vet. The day after that, I take my cats. There are 2 cats. Both of these cats had been mutilated and abused, and I have pictures if you want to see them. There's a series of pictures. It's how they were before I left and what happened when I came back. They had to have several operations. One of them almost lost his leg. Several of the cats have had their teeth knocked out. I found this about...
Were the cats fighting with each other? Were they having cat fights?
He said that they were...
Shh, I'm asking you.
I have not seen... Oh, no, when I came back? No.
You have pictures of destruction in the house?
Yes.
You think that he destroyed things in your house?
Yes.
Let me tell you this. I don't want you to be nutty about this. He didn't volunteer to take care of your cats to torture them. Something happened with your 21 cats and 1 dog when you were gone. But if you think that his intentions were to get you out of your house so that he could mutilate your 21 cats and dogs, that's demented. Do you understand?
Yes.
So you don't think he did that, right?
No, that was not...
So you think that something happened and things got totally out of control for him?
Yes.
Fair statement?
Yes.
That he bit off more cats than he could take care of. Right? And didn't know quite how to deal with it. I'm an animal lover, so I understand how hysterical you were when you came home. Was she hysterical, sir?
I wouldn't put it quite so mildly.
Mr. Johnson, you were the one who picked her. You were the one who volunteered to take care of 21 cats and a dog. I mean, you got to be a little bit bonkers to do that. That's a lot of responsibility, especially. I read your answer. You said a couple of these cats were crazy. They had to be kept in a room separate from everybody else and be fed separate, And even the plaintiff talked about in her testimony her feeding ritual.
Yep.
Which is, you had a couple of cats that were a little more aggressive.
There's an order to who eats, so they make sure that
if they eat out of order, it's havoc.
It's havoc. Well,
Ms. Hill. I'm supposed to eat all. You see this, got 20 cats going at each other.
You decided to assume the responsibility, Mr. Johnson.
I thought they were just little cats.
Mr. Johnson, you were there.
I know.
So you assumed the responsibility.
They're loving to her.
They weren't crazy about you.
Well, half of them were. The other half, oh my God.
Mr. Johnson, let me ask you this question. I don't want you to tell me everything that went on, because I have a few things after reading your answer. And, you know, we're not going to go on with this forever. I want to know, once you started to realize that you were over your head with this one, why didn't you call her in Connecticut and say you better come home?
Fear.
Fear of what?
Not following through with something that I had promised. We had talked about serious commitment and what goes along with that. And to be honest with you, I've never had a successful serious commitment in my life. And there's no way I was going to fail at this. That's why I insisted, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it right.
But you couldn't.
No, I couldn't.
But you realized that you couldn't early on, so that you have to call her and you have to say, I cannot.
We talked every day. She goes, how are the babies? And she's talking about the cats, like her children. Oh, they're fine.
So you lied to her.
Yeah.
So you
Otherwise, she's going to get on the plane, come down, and probably kill me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Either you did it on purpose or you did it because you were stupid. Which one was it?
I had 3 baseball buddies over one evening.
That's stupid.
And later today.
Did you ever hear the expression, no good deed goes unpunished?
Yes.
That's what happened. They are 2 amoral people.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lee Hill says ex-boyfriend James Johnston was negligent while taking care of her 21 cats. James says the whole ordeal was a nightmare.
There was some flooding that's talked about. And in your answer, Mr. Johnston, you say, I was running a bath, but ended up getting very distracted by the precise feeding procedure I was to follow. The next thing I knew...
It was a book.
There was water all over the place.
You know how long it takes to feed 21 cats?
Just a minute. I'm asking
like
a question.
5 hours.
Just a second. What were you doing? Mr. Johnson, who were you bathing?
Me. I was getting ready to... I got there about 9:30 at night. I had worked all day. It was hot.
So you were staying at her house?
Yeah. We were basically living together. Unofficially.
Just a second. Unofficially. I don't care. I just didn't know why you were running a bath when you were supposed to be feeding the cats. So you were living there.
I'm walking around naked, got the water going. I'm getting things ready.
I understand. So he was living in your house?
Yes.
All right. He was living in your house, and he had the keys to your car.
No, I never gave him the keys to my car.
Well, you must have left him home.
On the dresser.
No.
You mean he hot-wired your car?
No. When I came back, this person went through everything in my house.
That's not true.
And the key which was in a drawer. The reason I didn't say to him you could drive the car is because he doesn't have a good driving record. My insurance doesn't cover him. And it would be better not to go into that, make a mess out of that. I don't give him the key, he can't drive the car.
All right. Miss Hill, I think Mr. Johnson had the obligation, once he assumed the responsibility, to perform it properly. And if he could not, which he realized right away, according to him,
Third day.
he had the obligation to tell you when he spoke to you, day one, listen, you better get somebody else here to take care of your cats because I can't do it. And he chose not to do that.
Yeah.
Now I'll see your vet bills.
Okay.
How many cats do you have now?
I have 18.
A lot of cats.
I have a few other questions or statements to make.
Go ahead.
If you do want to take care of them, I don't know how this is good taking care of a cat. I have part of the other part of that broom with cat fur on it. I don't understand how that is good taking care of anything well. Running the bath that runs over, that floods the clothes, ruins the clothes, ruins shoes. I have some boots here that were ruined, that were in the closet on the floor. I also have a box of photographs, just like my family when I was younger. It was in a big box, like a boot box, in a closet. I came back, and I kept finding things up until, for months I've been finding things. And I find a wet bath towel that was put in the box, closed in the box, and put in the closet. I don't understand why this was done. This has nothing to do with the cats. This to me is malicious. I don't know why he did it, but he did it.
Maybe he's just stupid.
That's not what well, for taking
Just a second. Just a second. Either you did it on purpose or you did it because you were stupid. Which one was it?
I had 3 baseball buddies over one evening.
That's stupid.
Yeah, I got out of hand.
So either you did it on purpose or you did it because it was stupid. It was stupid. If you had 3 baseball buddies and one of them acted like an idiot, that's your fault.
2 of them did.
I also requested that nobody come to the house for the simple reason that there are a lot of cats. And the more people that are there, the more doors are left open, the more chaos there can be. So
Nobody believed me about the amount of cats. I had to show them.
I also have estimates for the carpeting.
I'm not considering that. You left him in your house. He was living with you. That's your problem. You picked somebody who's unreliable. That's your problem. Vet bills are something else because this was a separate and unique thing. He said he would take care of your cats. That was your arrangement with him.
Yes.
If he couldn't do that, he had a responsibility, and the responsibility was either to board them or call her and say, get on the plane to come home.
There was one other option available that I wish I had taken.
Which was?
Her mother. She was a phone call away. She called me every day to make sure everything was okay.
Well, then you could have done that too, but she shouldn't have any out-of-pocket expenses because of your negligence in taking care of the cats. That was your agreement with her. And you have to take care of it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,389. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The cat's tail got hurt because it was in a fight, and I yanked it out.
Then later on he said he accidentally electrocuted it.
I did what I could under circumstances.
He's got a, was it a Medal of Valor or a Purple Heart? I can't remember which. So, I mean, I don't believe it.
If you need to make a promise, make sure you can do it.
I had to lock myself in part of my house to keep away from him.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Epps versus Ward. Step forward, please.
24-year-old bus driver Matisha Epps is suing her former friend, 22-year-old college student Melinda Ward, for an unpaid loan for a car.
Well, there's certain things, Miss Epps, in your complaint that I understand and some that I'm a little confused about. So let me start with what I do understand. You tell me if I'm correct. This was a friend of yours?
No, this is my cousin's girlfriend.
But she was a friend of yours?
Yeah.
And she wanted to buy a car?
Yes.
And she asked you for a loan for the down payment on the car?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you wrote out a check for the dealership for how much money? $2,500?
$2,500.
And you post-dated the check?
Yes, Your Honor.
She said to you, according to your complaint, don't worry, by the time the date comes when the check is going to be deposited, I will have enough money so that I'll give it to you and the check will be covered.
No, Your Honor. She's supposed to pay it to the finance company.
So she was going to pay it herself so that they would never cash your check?
Exactly, Your Honor.
Well, she didn't do that.
No.
And they cashed your check?
Exactly.
And you were forced to make good on that check?
Yes.
Now, Ms. Ward says she called you before the time that they cashed your check and told you to put a stop payment on the check because she wasn't going to be able to come up with the money.
Yes, my ex-fiance called Matisha Epps a week prior to October 21st and asked her to place stop payment on the check. For whatever reason, she didn't do so.
Just a second, because you weren't going to have the money.
Yes.
Did he ever call you?
Yes, Your Honor, he did.
And what did he say when he called you?
He told me that they weren't going to have the money yet, and so I could put a stop payment on the check.
And why didn't you do that?
It was just like a couple of days in advance. I don't believe it was a week in advance. It was just like maybe a couple of days in advance when he called and told me that they weren't going to have the money. And by the time that I called the bank, it was too late. They had posted the check.
But he called you before?
Yeah.
Well, why didn't you stop payment on it? Why didn't you call immediately that day?
I work 6 days a week and I work long hours.
If you work 6 days a week and long hours, it would seem to me that $2,500 is important to you. So now I understand, and I understand that you made the call. Did you, in fact, buy that car? Is not an answer.
Okay. Yes, I did buy the car.
Good. So you got the benefit of her $2,500. Is that right?
Yes.
So what difference does it make? What are you? Are you stupid? Is he stupid? If you said to me I couldn't afford to buy the car, and I didn't buy the car, but you bought the car using her $2,500, and now you don't think that you have to pay her back?
Well, had she have placed stop payment on the check, I wouldn't have even had the car.
Just a sec. You're some piece of work. Now, what kind of moral character do you think that I believe that you have because you didn't pay her back the $2,500?
I tried.
What do you mean you tried? What does that mean you tried?
Well, after the check went through, my ex-fiance and I attempted to give her $200 in which she could have put towards the check. She said she didn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
She gave us the number to call whoever the financial company that was dealing with the check. They didn't want to deal with us because it was her check. So we definitely tried.
Well, you're making payments now on the car, aren't you?
No, I don't have the car anymore.
Where is it?
It got totaled in an accident.
When?
Last July.
You think I should believe everything you're telling me?
I don't have a reason to lie.
Go ahead.
I also like to say, this is my cousin, Miss Epps is my cousin. I went to her house. We did the best we could, honestly.
No, you didn't. You did the best you could. You were driving around in a car that she paid for. The best you could is to pay her back the $2,500.
That's what I'm saying. When we realized that we weren't going to have all the money, we went to talk with her. We contacted her, and we also went to talk with her about that. I went to her with money in my hand. She said, because like she said, because she works and everything, I was under the impression that, you know, she didn't want to deal with it. She told me to deal with it, you know, the best way I could.
Did you ever hear the expression, no good deed goes unpunished?
Yes.
That's what happened. They are two amoral people. I was sympathetic with them at first. If he called and said, listen, we don't have the money, and you didn't get around to calling and putting a stop payment on the check, but then they went ahead and bought the car and paid for it. How long did you drive that car before it was totaled?
A year.
And during that year, if they had said, every month I'm going to give you $200, you would have had your money.
Yes.
You didn't do that, did you?
Well,
the answer is yes or no. Did you do that?
We wasn't allowed to. No, we wasn't allowed to, Your Honor. If I can explain to you.
No, you can't explain to me.
Okay.
You mean to tell me that if every month you put $200 in an envelope and left it in her mailbox, that she would have taken the $100 bills and thrown them away? Is that what you think? Is that what you think?
No.
What kind of work do you do?
Right now, I'm a...
What kind of work do you do?
Actually, I'm unemployed right now.
Right.
I was a
right.
custodian.
You're unemployed right now. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Your Honor, this case number 75 on the calendar in the matter of Hertz versus Gonzalez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Miss Hertz, your father was a doctor?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of a doctor was he?
He was a chiropractic physician, ma'am.
And he passed away in April, is that
March
right?
28th.
According to your complaint, your father had a medical practice, and his landlord was the defendant.
No, ma'am. Mr. Gonzalez is the strip mall building manager.
Okay, he was the manager of the building.
Yes, ma'am.
And you tried to get into your father's office in order to retrieve his files after his death.
Yes, ma'am, according to probate code.
Just answer my questions. Mr. Gonzalez would not let you into the building or your father's office when you wanted to get into the office, and it is your claim that because you could not get into the office at an appropriate time, you lost a substantial amount of money because you could have sold those files to another doctor if you had been able to do it sooner, and you're seeking damages in the amount of $5,000. Mr. Gonzalez has a reason that he says that he did not allow you to remove the files when you wanted to. He's counterclaiming for defamation because he says that you're bad-mouthing him to other people, calling him a tyrant. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to forget about your counterclaim. Forget about the counterclaim. But we're going to get to the plaintiff's claim, which I find rather interesting. All right, your father died. Did he die suddenly on March 28th?
No, ma'am. He entered the hospital with viral pneumonia on March 23rd and passed away on March 28th.
How old a man was he?
He had been 84 for 6 weeks.
Had he been in full-time practice up until the time he got sick?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, on what date was the first date that you tried to get into his office?
I arrived in Los Angeles April 3rd in the evening.
On April 3rd?
Yes, ma'am. I was unable to get here sooner than that because
So you were not here when your father died?
No, ma'am.
You were not here when he was in the hospital?
No, ma'am.
Where do you live?
Chicago.
Well, were you advised that he was sick and in the hospital on the 23rd of March?
Yes, ma'am. However, my father was always a very strong, healthy person. We're into natural health and healing. And we never expected him to be, we never expected this to happen.
How many children are there?
Just myself.
So who was with him when he was in the hospital? Nobody?
No one.
Oh. So you got here after your father died?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get here after the funeral?
No, ma'am. The service, I went to the mortuary on April 4th, identified his body at the hospital, took him to the mortuary, and made the arrangements then. We had a memorial service for him.
Just a minute. So he died on March 28th, 29th, 30th. April 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. 7 days later,
yes, ma'am,
you managed to find a way to come from Chicago to Los Angeles.
Yes, ma'am.
Doesn't sound like a hell of a lot of devotion for me, because all the healing didn't help him. He died on March 28th.
We never expected him to die. We thought he would be back in the office.
He did die,
yes,
on March 28th. What took you 7 days to travel from Chicago to Los Angeles?
I had to make arrangements to take care of my apartment and as well as my birds. And I also had business arrangements to make.
And what did you do when you got here on the 4th of April?
Went to the office building in order to start taking inventory of the office.
Okay. Now, at that point, had you had anything from the probate court giving you the authority to go in there?
Ma'am, the estate was under $100,000. No court supervision was necessary according to probate code 13100, etc.
Were you armed with that information when you came to the office?
No, ma'am.
So, Mr. Gonzalez wouldn't let you in?
No, ma'am.
Good. That's exactly what he should have done. Should not have let you in to go through anything. He doesn't know who you are. As far as he knows, there's a will, and he left all of his estate and all of his property to Goodwill. He doesn't know if you have authority. You may be his only child, but he may not have liked you. So he could have left all of his property to somebody else. Isn't that right?
My father died intestate.
He doesn't know that. So you went there on the 4th of April, and he said you can't come in. What happened next?
Mr. Gonzalez had been apprised by a volunteer that worked for my father as a volunteer.
Don't tell me what he had been apprised in hearsay conversation with anybody. He has a tenant who died, leaving property in their office, and he is liable if, perchance, they find a will of your father's that says, I leave all of my possessions to whatever medical school he went to, whatever university he went to. And you go in there and you say, I'm his daughter, I'm entitled to everything. How does he know that you're entitled to anything? You had nothing from a court?
At that time, no.
Fine. When did you go back?
I received a phone call on April 13th, Saturday, from Mr. Gonzalez telling me that he was putting all of my father's possessions, office possessions, into storage, which I would be responsible for paying for. And if any of the movers hurt themselves, I would also be responsible for their medical bills. Mr. Gonzalez,
He can't do that either.
Mr. Gonzalez,
If he did it, he can't do that either, because you're not responsible for anything. You're not responsible financially for anything, and you're not responsible if his movers get hurt schlepping the files. So if he said that to you, he's 100% wrong. So far, I got a lot of lawyers here. Go ahead. So that's April 13th.
I was also told that my father's files, patient files, needed to be put into storage for 7 years by another practitioner. He gave me the names and phone numbers of 2 chiropractors who would be happy to store my father's files.
Fine. So you said no, thank you. Well,
the files are the heart of the business. They're a sacred trust, and they are saleable items.
Ms. Hertz, let's get on with it. Stop with, you're pulling at my heartstrings. It took you 7 days to get from Chicago to Los Angeles. It was more important to take care of your birds than it was to come to say goodbye to your father. I have very little sympathy for that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
My father overpaid on his last month's rent.
Get on with it. That's not what you're suing him for. You keep making things up as you're going along, madam.
And later today,
I don't know how long you've been drinking, but I would guess, based upon my experience in the court, that you've been drinking a long time. That's not the way to bring up a child.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marcia Hertz says when her father passed away, building manager Miguel Gonzalez kept her from retrieving files from his business.
April 13th, he said he's putting the stuff in storage. What did you do next?
On the 15th, I arrived at the office early in the morning to make sure that the removal of my father's property did not happen. 7:30 in the morning, Mr. Gonzalez knocked on the door wanting me to sign a piece of paper. I refused to do so because there were no copies of it. He told me that he would make copies of this paper after I had signed it. And I said, no, make copies first. He wouldn't tell me what it was. Next thing he said was that he was going to call the LAPD to have me arrested for trespassing. They arrived 5 minutes later
and
threatened me with arrest that if I did not sign this piece of paper. I was bullied and coerced into signing it. It turned out to be a release of tenancy by April 30th which gave me the entire month of April to remove my father's possessions, not by April 15th.
Okay, so?
Well, the tenant paid the rent for the month of April, which gave me until April 30th.
Well, that's what that says. You have until the 30th.
Yes, ma'am.
So?
And I did not have a problem with that.
So?
However, in here, because of the if I may continue?
Go ahead.
Because of the termination of the month-to-month tenancy is terminated by the death of the tenant, landlord is permitting Marcy Hertz on behalf of and as representative of the estate of Albert Hertz, hereinafter Marcy Hertz, to enter the property for the sole purpose of removing possessions of the tenant. Marcy Hertz takes full responsibility for all property removed from the premises, including but not limited to the chiropractic records contained herein.
Miss Hertz, I don't get the problem, madam. I don't get the problem at all. You signed something that says you take full responsibility for the files as a representative of the estate, even though he doesn't know you're a representative of the estate. And you have to be out of the premises by April 30th.
Which is the reason I was here. However, on April 13th, he threatened to remove the contents of Dad's office.
So? He didn't?
No, he did not.
So what? What are you here for?
I'm here because my father overpaid on his last month's rent back in 1987.
That's not part of your claim. That's not part of your claim.
All right.
Then what are you here for?
I'm here because the overpayment was more than 50% of what his current rent was, which would have given me into the middle of May to sell the files.
Get on with it. That's not what you're suing him for. You keep making things up as you're going along, madam.
Excuse me, ma'am. The value of the files decreases every day. The goodwill.
So?
The files are now worthless.
Listen, you were able to get the files as of April 15th. Is that right?
Ma'am, I was able to gain entrance to the office.
You were able, once you signed that document, assuming responsibility, on April 15th, you were able to get the files. Is that right or wrong?
You are correct, ma'am.
Good. And you say that because you weren't able to go and get the files either on the 4th or the 8th, the value of the files diminished because it took an extra week. Is that right?
I had to find another chiropractor to take my father's practice over.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Each day of his passing, the files diminish.
Then, Miss Hertz, I would have suggested that if that's the way you felt, you should have made it your business to get there a week earlier after your father died. Because if you had gotten there on the 28th, you would have resolved this matter by the 8th of April.
No,
but
ma'am.
you chose to take care of your birds instead of coming and taking care of your father's business, and you want somebody else to be responsible for that. It's ludicrous. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She was going around my neighborhood with my peers saying that I am mafia connected, that I have LAPD people in my pocket, intimidating her.
I knew very well who I was before I even came down. We were in telephone contact prior to my coming down here.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mason Wilson versus Wilson. Step forward, please.
Thomas Mason and his fiancée, Joanne Wilson, are suing Joanne's son, 21-year-old fast food worker Jesse Wilson. Joanne says during an argument, Jesse assaulted her.
You're Miss Wilson.
Yes.
Is that right? And this is your boyfriend. His name is Mason.
Yes, that's correct.
And this is your son.
Yes.
And it is your claim that your son assaulted you, which resulted in your hospitalization. You want him to pay for any unreimbursed medical costs that you had, as well as for something for pain and suffering. I don't know what Mr. Mason is doing here unless he paid some of the bills. Did you, sir?
I paid them, Your Honor, yes.
You paid them? That's why you're here. Your son says that he didn't assault you, that you fell over a table because you were drunk. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did this incident occur?
January 15th. Yeah.
Where?
In my house.
Who was at home?
I was at home. He was there. In fact, he was leaving that day.
Who was he?
My son. And
leaving permanently?
Yeah.
Why?
He was moving out.
Why?
Well, he thought $25 a week was too much. He said he should pay nothing to live with me.
How old is he?
He's 21.
Go ahead. So what happened?
So we got into argument that night. And
what did you get into an argument about?
Miscellaneous things. And I quite don't remember. I remember falling, and I remember him picking me up, and he was saying sorry to me. He said, Ma, I'm sorry. And he put me on the couch. After that, I don't remember nothing. Except when going to the hospital, they had to put thing around my neck. They had me in a board, and then they had to rush me from that hospital to another hospital.
The only thing you remember is him picking you up,
Yeah.
saying,
I remember him saying, "Ma, I'm sorry." He picked me up and put me on the couch. And then I woke up later on, and my boyfriend came later that night, and he made me go to the hospital. I wasn't going to the hospital. I was dizzy and everything, but I told him I would be fine. And he told me, no, I think you better go to the hospital. Something don't look right.
had you been drinking?
Yeah, I had been drinking.
How much?
I had maybe a half a pint that night.
Half a pint of what?
Rum.
What time did you start drinking?
It was about 6 o'clock that night.
Do you drink every night?
No.
How often do you drink?
I drink on a weekend, occasionally on weekends.
You have a drinking problem?
No.
You have anything to drink today?
No.
All right, Mr. Wilson. Your mother says that you said sorry. You want to tell me what happened?
I had came home from work at the time of the day of my birthday, and
This was your birthday?
yes, my birthday. I had came home, right, and she was drunk because I smelled it on her breath. Me and her got into an argument over how stuff was going in the house. I told her I
Like
have
what?
like me, sometimes I might leave something around the house, something like a cup or a plate or something. I understand sometimes I do intend to forget stuff, but I always do what I have to do in the house, you know. And when she kicked me out, I was getting all my belongings, and she had grabbed me.
Where did she grab you?
She grabbed me in my left arm, and when I told her, "Can you get off me?" she did not want to let go. And when I took my arm like that to get her off me, she had fell back and lost her balance.
You didn't hit her, did you?
No, I would never assault my mother.
You never put your hands on her?
No.
Well, she doesn't remember what happened. All she remembers is falling and you saying you're sorry. So what are we doing here? Mr. Mason, what are we doing here, sir?
Well, Your Honor, this has been going on for quite a while. It isn't just the first time. He broke a window once before in the house because he got mad.
But
I have bills here, and I have the original letter that I wrote to him, gave him plenty of time. All I was looking for was my original amount of money that I put out.
For what?
For the expenses of what it costs to take her to the hospital.
Just a minute. There's no proof he assaulted her, sir.
Well, I had asked her what happened when I came home. She called up this friend of mine. I was at his house, and I came home. She had told me what happened, that Jesse had pushed her, and I said, you best you go to the hospital to get checked out. We went to one hospital, and they needed better equipment. They had to transfer her to another hospital, and they weren't sure if she would be paralyzed from the neck down or not. And like I said, it's not a question of just now. It's been a question of a problem when it's $25 a week that he's paying rent. A week when he get television, the telephone, the whole thing over here for $25 a week. And then he wanted to live for nothing.
How long have the two of you been living together?
Over 2.5 years.
And whose house is it?
It's her apartment.
It's her apartment?
Yeah. And he's
So just a second. So you're living in her apartment?
Half and half, Your Honor. I have my own apartment right around the corner.
What do you mean half and half?
I stay sometimes, a lot of times. I stay on the average 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks at a time.
Listen to me. It's none of your business.
Okay.
This is between Miss Wilson and her son. Has nothing to do with you. Nothing. As far as I'm concerned, Miss Wilson shouldn't be here with her son today. She had a little too much to drink, and if she got into even a shoving match with her son and she fell, that's unfortunate. Probably was tipsy to begin with and fell. She shouldn't be fighting with her son. She shouldn't be fighting with her son on his birthday. And you shouldn't pour salt in the wound because you're not family. You don't precipitate coming to court when you're not even related. Precipitate a mother for bringing a lawsuit against her child. That doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't let anybody pressure you into bringing a lawsuit against your son, which you probably wouldn't have done on your own.
No, but I think he deserves it, especially when he busted my window. I wasn't even supposed to let him live with me. Housing don't want him there because he got kicked out of his sister's house because of the same problem.
Miss Wilson, let me tell you something. I'm not giving him any stars for good behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long you've been drinking, but I would guess, based upon my experience in the courts, that you've been drinking a long time. Long time.
Okay.
That's not the way to bring up a child. So if you have a child that is troubled at age 20, you look to yourself and say, what did I do as a mother? Was I drinking most of the time? Was I doing the right thing most of the time? And if you were not, you don't precipitate a lawsuit because you set zero example for him. Just want you to think about that. Your lawsuit's dismissed.
On the calendar in the matter of Kitchen versus Johnson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
How old are you?
21.
And you?
I'm 20.
You're too young to be living together. Do you know that?
Yes.
I read these papers and it's sort of like you were playing in a playpen, like 2 3-year-olds. Didn't you ever learn about working and playing well with others?
Yes.
How long were you living together?
In our apartment, we were living together for almost a year, but before that, we lived together for a year and a half.
Ah, right. Now you tell me what date it is that you had this big fight.
It was February 23rd, 2002.
And you were living together, still living together at the time.
Yes.
And you were angry with him.
Yes, I was angry with
You
him.
were angry. Tell me why you were angry, Miss Kitchen.
I was angry with him because he came home around 7 a.m. in the morning and woke me and my brother up arguing with me.
So what did you do because you were angry? What did you do to his clothes?
After we got into an argument, I took his clothes out the closet and I told him he needs to move out.
You took his clothes out of the closet, Miss Kitchen, and what did you do with his clothes? Just be careful what you tell me. Took his clothes out of the closet, and where did you throw them?
I threw them on the floor.
Did you throw any of them outside?
Yes, I did.
Yes, of course you did. And so he got angry.
Yes.
And he said to you, pick up my clothes and put them back. Is that what you said?
Correct.
And you said?
No.
And he said, if you don't pick up my clothes, I'm going to take
Your stereo and throw them over the balcony.
And you didn't pick up his?
I didn't pick up his clothes.
And you did what?
Well, I kept the radio. She went and got some bleach to pour on my clothes while they was on the balcony.
So she went into a different room to get bleach.
The kitchen.
Show me how big the jar of bleach was.
It was this big.
Big jar.
Big jar.
And you said, if you don't put down my radio, I'm going to put what on your clothes?
Bleach.
Shh, please. I love this story. It gets a lot better.
It's fun so far.
It gets a lot better. Anyway, you got the bottle of bleach out of her hand.
No, she put the bleach down. I picked it up. She ran in the room and got my glasses.
She put the bottle of bleach down, got your
Gucci glasses.
Fancy Gucci glasses.
Right.
You picked up the bleach.
Right.
What was she going to do with your glasses?
She said, I'm going to break them. I twist off the bottle of the bleach. I said, if you break those glasses, I will pour this on your side of the closet.
And what did she do?
She broke it, and I poured it on her side of the closet. But before all this, she done bit me up, scratched me, before she grabbed my clothes.
Before?
Before. She didn't already, before she even grabbed my clothes, because I was trying to stand in front of the closet, she started scratching and biting me. Her brother was trying to pull her off of me, but while he was pulling, she still had a lock on me. She was like locked like a rock wallet.
What was she so... Shh. What was she so mad about, Mr. Johnson?
She was all kinds of things that she wanted. She didn't want me to have no other girls, and that she was gonna mess up my face so nobody else would want me or something like that. So she was trying to scar me up.
Okay, so now she broke your glasses.
Word.
But before that, she had already scratched you up.
Yeah.
She was furious.
Yeah, her brother was trying to hold her back and telling her to quit and calm down.
Because she was angry.
And he
She's
wrote
got a
that
bad
in the
temper.
incident report.
Even with that sweet voice, she has a bad temper.
Word.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Okay, so you poured bleach all over her clothes.
All over it.
And she broke your glasses and scratched you.
She broke my glasses first, and then I poured it over her closet.
But before that, she had scratched
She had scratched me and bit me.
Okay. Now then, clothes are bleached, you're scratched and bleeding, your glasses are broken. Somehow you get outside.
Yeah, she's just, when I poured the bleach, she just started crying and breaking down like she had lost her best friend. I grabbed my clothes and tried to put them in my trunk. I ran downstairs.
Okay. And when you got down to the car, what did you see?
She was telling her brother that she had called the police and to talk to the police while she'd come and chase after me. And I was putting things in the trunk, and she got in my car, and she was scratching my car. She hit my car. She was pulling all the CDs out my car. When the police pulled up, she was in my car.
No. And then she got arrested.
She got arrested. She asked the police.
You have the police report?
Oh, word. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, I do.
May I see it, please?
And that's her brother's statement.
Just a minute. I'm
The
reading
only
everything.
witness.
I'm reading everything.
And I have pictures of the bruises.
I'd like to see those, too.
There you go. All right. And I got glasses.
Can I tell my side of the story now?
Yeah.
Okay, that is not what happened. Tristan came home at 7 in the morning and woke me up. And
I heard that already.
We started yelling and arguing. He snatched my stereo out the wall and tried to throw it over the balcony. I told him that if he threw the stereo, I was going to bleach his clothes. He dropped my stereo and ran in the room. He picked up the bleach and ran in the room and had the bleach over my clothes. I told him that if he bleached my clothes, I was going to break his glasses. He poured bleach all over my clothes, then I broke his glasses. I fell to the ground and started screaming and hollering, and I told my brother to go call the police. He grabbed my purse and picked up his clothes and ran downstairs. I ran downstairs after him, and I grabbed his cell phone. So I told him I'll give him his cell phone if he gave me my purse. I gave him his cell phone, he gave me my purse. I stood by the car, and I wouldn't let him get into the car. So,
your daughter?
Yes. So we stood by the car waiting for the police. He pushed me into
You
his
owe me for
rearview
listening
mirror.
to this, right? You owe me. Go ahead.
He pushed me into his rearview mirror. That's how his rearview mirror broke. I didn't have no keys in my hand, so I did not key his car like he said I did.
You kept telling your sister to calm down, right?
Yes.
But she was out of control.
Well, she had a reason.
She was out of control.
Yes.
You didn't tell him to calm down. Right?
Well, I was...
No. You didn't tell him to calm down. You were telling your sister to calm down. Is that right?
Right.
Right. Uh-huh.
Well, I
I didn't ask you anything else.
All right. Can I ask you a question?
No. I ask questions.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You can't bite people. That's not nice.
He kept on pushing me down on the bed. That's why I bit
You
him.
can't bite people because you're acting like a nut.
And later today,
Brother smashes rental car that sister leased for him as a favor. Brother's answer is, duh.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nicole Kitchen says ex-boyfriend Tristan Johnson bleached her clothes in anger. Tristan says it was in retaliation for breaking his Gucci sunglasses.
Let me read you what you told the police. Your name is Carthan?
Yes.
She was yelling, your sister was yelling at him to get out of the house.
Yes.
She was saying he hasn't paid all of the rent.
Right. Oh, sorry.
She told him to go to his girlfriend's house. He cheated on her, and that's why they broke up. They argued for at least 45 minutes. Then she, your sister, started throwing all of his clothes onto the balcony. He took her CD player and said, if my clothes go over, your CD player goes over. She was trying to get the CD player back from him. He was holding her back with his other arm. She bit him on the arm to get her CD player. She took the player and put it inside. He still wouldn't leave, so she grabbed bleach and threatened to pour the bleach on his clothes. He stopped her from doing it. He grabbed the bleach. My sister took his sunglasses and threatened to break them. He told her, you better not break those or I'll bleach your clothes. She snapped his glasses in half. Then he poured bleach on her clothes. Then I called the police.
Yes.
Word for word is what you told the police, which is exactly what he said.
Mm-hmm.
I think she bit him twice on the arm and the chest, but I'm not sure. How long were you in jail?
9.5 hours.
You can't bite people. That's not nice.
He kept on pushing me down on the bed. That's why I bit
you
him.
can't bite people because you were acting like a nut. You were acting kooky. You got mad. But you weren't terribly injured, right?
No, but I got to wear these scars for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it's not nice.
No, not at all.
Listen, you're each suing each other. You're suing because you say he has some of your property.
Yes.
And he poured bleach all over your clothes.
Yes.
He's counterclaiming because he says you broke his sunglasses, you assaulted him, you damaged some of his stuff, and each of you want $5,000 from the other. Do you think you behaved well that day?
No, I don't think I behaved well.
Do you think you behaved well that day?
I didn't put my hands on her.
You think you behaved
Besides the
appropriately?
bleach, no.
Well, but the bleach is a big thing.
Yes.
She threw your clothes down.
And it was just
She broke
raining
your
the next day, so
glasses.
my clothes was already a done deal.
Listen, she broke your glasses, you pick up your stuff, You leave the house until she cools off, and you haven't done anything to retaliate, because by retaliating, then you felt better, right? You thought you'd feel better.
No,
She
because
broke
of-
your glasses, so you were going to make yourself feel better by bleaching her clothes, right?
Right.
Well, that's what you did. So what do you want from me? You each got what you deserved. What do you want from me?
She went to my job and told them that I beat her up back in,
No.
that I choked her in the staff lounge back in January.
You have somebody from your job to testify to that?
I got the reason why I was terminated that
You
says
have
that.
somebody from your job to testify as to what she told them.
I just got the letter.
I don't read letters. Let's talk about the property.
Okay.
You each damaged the other's property. If you
Yeah.
think I'm going to value what you each damaged, you're absolutely nuts. You acted like two 3-year-olds in a playground. So if I would do anything, I would award you 0, you 0, you 5,000, you 5,000. That would each give you 0. Choose whatever you like. Neither one of you were entitled to any money, and neither one of you were entitled to waste 1 minute more of my time. Goodbye.
Wait.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She didn't try to jump on me while we was on the road.
He's the one who came home and attacked me and got mad at me.
She didn't try to attack me at my job.
I had a new boyfriend, and my new boyfriend came to my apartment. That's why he got mad.
For all those people that thought I put my hands on her, I didn't.
A big fat man like him lied.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Anzua versus Aldretti, step forward, please.
Hairstylist Karen Ainzua and her husband Mako Ainzua are suing Karen's brother, 25-year-old magician James Aldretti, for the cost to fix a rental car he wrecked.
Ms. Ainzua, the defendant is your brother. And
Yes.
according to your complaint, you did him a favor and you rented a car for him for credit reasons. Is that right, sir?
No, because I was under 25 at the time, and they charge you an additional fee just to rent. It would have just costed me way too much at the time. Actually, it was also for credit reasons.
So you did him a favor and then he wrecked the car. And the rental company withdrew directly from your bank to cover the damage to the car. Ultimately, you settled with them, and the entire fiasco cost you $2,066.
Correct. Good afternoon, Your Honor.
She rented the car for you. You used it exclusively.
Actually, she offered to rent the car for me.
But you used the car exclusively. It was
Yes.
for you. When did she rent the car for you?
I don't know the exact date. I know it was, I think sometime in August. Say maybe the 23rd, maybe 20th. I don't have any.
And how long were you going to use the car?
I had no definite plan at the time because everything at the same time was just going on. You know,
Okay.
I don't want to bring personal matters into it.
When was
but-
the accident?
God, I don't remember the date. Maybe the 20th.
All right, now we get back to somebody who can give me some answers. When did you rent the car for him?
I rented the car September 12th, 2000.
Well, he was close. When were you notified that he was in an accident?
September 17th at night. He got in the accident early that morning. Well, basically what I have to say about the case here is...
You were in an accident
Yes.
sometime on the 17th of September.
Mhm.
Tell me about the accident.
Well, I was coming home from work at that time. I worked at I was a manager at a strip club, and I was driving home. I got off of work kind of late, like 4 in the morning, and I was driving home on the freeway, and somebody cut me off on the freeway, and I ended up hitting the dirt, and it spun my car around. It spun the car around through the whole freeway and hit the center divider, then it knocked me off into a ditch. I was unconscious for like 10 minutes, and I woke up.
Were you
and,
injured?
I was just interning a little bit. And,
Were you hospitalized?
just for like a couple hours until somebody came and picked me up.
No injuries that required any follow-up.
No.
So why aren't you responsible for this, sir?
Well, because first of all, I never asked her to rent me a car. She took the initiative too. I just asked her to come pick me up at the time because my car broke down. And me. She begged me.
Shh, please. I want to hear him. Mr. Aldretti,
Yes.
I want to hear you, sir.
Okay. Well.
I am committed to hearing your defense in this case. I want you to understand that.
Okay. And anyways, she said, well, and I said, well, I want to rent a car, but I said it was going to cost me too much. And actually, at the time, when you go to rent a car, they want a credit card. And at the time, I had an ATM, and I didn't have the money in there because what they do is they withhold money for you from the time you rent the
I'm
car.
committed to hearing your defense, but not being bored to death, sir. Would you get on with your defense?
Okay. She said that she'd rent me a car, and I said okay. And I feel like she took responsibility for her actions. She basically put her name and everything else on the line for her brother, obviously. And And I started looking into it, and I don't feel like I'm responsible for it. I mean, if somebody came to me and said, hey, I need to borrow your car, or if I said, hey, go ahead and borrow my car since you need a car, I'm taking the responsibility for their actions. If they get into a car accident, it's my fault. I'm not going to go after them because they got into a car accident. First of all, it wasn't even my fault that I got into a car accident. I mean, I just don't feel like I'm responsible for it. I mean, if I'm going to let somebody use something of mine or get something for them or whatever, and something happens to it, I'm taking the responsibility for it. You know, and the way I feel is that's what the insurance is for. You know, I mean, she's my family, she's my sister, that she's like the only closest.
You know what the sentence is? Judge, that is my defense.
Oh.
Are you finished? I don't want to rush you.
Okay.
Mr. Andretti, I don't want to rush you, sir.
I just want to get things clear, that's why, because...
No, I want you to be clear.
Okay, and Your Honor, that the reason why I feel like...
Don't repeat yourself, though. I mean, because my mind is still relatively intact even at my age. You know, I don't like things repeated time after time after time. When you've said what your defense is, I'd like you to just let me know. Anything else?
Nope, that's it, Your Honor.
So can I have the sentence, please?
That's my defense.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,066. Mr. Andretti, there is something wrong with you. Now.
It's all Andretti.
There is something wrong with you.
It's all Andretti, though. I just want to...
Whatever.
Okay.
Your sister wasn't at the bar where you were working that night. She didn't drive home 4 o'clock in the morning. You were driving home 4 o'clock in the morning. She did you a favor, hoping that you would act responsibly, that if something happened to this car while you were driving it, that she wouldn't be out any money. She expected you to pay for the car that she was renting for you. That was your agreement, wasn't it? That you were going to pay her for the rental, right?
I wasn't going to... No, I never agreed to her that I was going to pay for anything.
You mean she was just renting the car for you and she was going to pay for the rental?
Well, I was going to pay for the rental.
That's what I just said, so pay attention.
But I never said I will pay for any damages or anything like that. She signed that waiver herself. I mean, she should be taking responsibility for her actions for saying, hey, I'll rent a car for you.
You know, I read your papers, your complaint and your answer in preparation to do this case. I read your words, and let me tell you the little notes that I made for myself. I said, brother smashes rental car that sister leased for him as a favor. Brother's answer is, duh. That was my note. That was my note. I was hoping I would come out here and hear something different from you, sir. That's why I gave you all the rope you needed.
But I feel like...
Grow up! Judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you. All right, this is case number 77 on the calendar in the matter of Privet versus Ali. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Miss Ali, is this your daughter?
Yes, it is.
Is that your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Getting the picture. It's going to be a familiar picture. Miss Privet, according to your complaint, the defendant's daughter, this young lady, moved into your house with your permission.
Yes, ma'am.
And I gather that she had gotten into a teenage snit with her mother and left the house, came to your house. When was that?
Right after my birthday in September of 2001.
Does she still live there?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, am I correct in assuming that the way you know her is through your son?
Yes, ma'am. They're boyfriend and girlfriend.
How lovely. And how old is your son?
He's 20.
You want the defendant to pay support.
Yes, ma'am, I
for
do.
her 16-year-old daughter.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And she's been there since September, so coming on to a year. What do you have to say about that?
I have to say about that first of all, my daughter has a home with me. Second of all, I do take care of my daughter financially. I take her to all her doctor appointments. I pay for anything the insurance doesn't. I pay for her birth control. I'm not sleeping with her. I pick her up if she gets sick from school.
Miss Ali.
I'm not going to give her money for my minor daughter to stay away from home.
You're not following my
I didn't understand you then. What do
because
you
didn't let me finish.
I'm sorry.
Do you have other children at home?
No, I don't.
Who else lives in your home?
Just me and my boyfriend.
Does your daughter get along with the boyfriend?
She never gave him a chance to get along with him.
So the answer is no, she doesn't get along with him.
Mm-hmm.
Does he work?
Oh, she's a nurse.
Has she always lived with you?
Yes, she has.
Ever been out of your care for 16 years?
Yes, she has, for
When?
a short period of time.
When?
For 3 months in the year of 2000. I was in a drug program for 90 days.
So there was a time when you were not doing much parenting for her.
Exactly.
About how many years was it that you weren't doing parenting for her?
It wasn't years. It was
Well, if
3
you went
months.
No. You didn't go into a drug program because you didn't have a problem. You had a problem, which is why you went into the drug program. So how long was your problem? A year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years?
Sorry, 2.5 years.
So for a period of at least, if you say 2.5 years, it was probably more, you weren't doing much parenting for her.
No, it was 2.5 years.
Okay. Now, what about your daughter's father? Does he pay child support?
Yes, he does.
How much does he pay in child support?
It's $115 a week, but half of that is arrears, what he's owed me from $24,000 past child support.
Have you gone into court to seek the court's assistance in having your daughter returned to your house?
No.
Have you gone to the police to have your daughter returned to the house?
Yes, I did.
And what time did you go to the police?
When she first left home.
Did the police go to Miss Privet's house?
No, they did not.
So after the police told you whatever they told you, you dropped it and did not go into the local family court, which would have jurisdiction over your daughter, to have her returned to your house?
That's correct.
Okay. Are you employed?
No, I'm not.
Stand up. Tell me your name.
Danielle Felix.
What happened when you left home?
What happened? What do you mean?
Why won't you tell me why you left home?
Well, my mom had a drug problem, and I didn't really like her boyfriend. He was too demanding and trying to be more of a father-like to me, but I've only known him for 3 years, 3 months, sorry, before then. And my mom was too busy with her other stuff. Like
What other stuff?
Drugs.
Was she still using drugs when you left home?
That's a lie.
Shh. What kind of drugs was she using?
Pain pills. She's been on pain pills for a while now.
What kind of pain pills, do you know?
Oxycontin, like Percocets, Vicodins.
Is that the nature of her drug problem before she went into rehab?
Yes.
Same pain pills?
Yes.
How long has your mother been doing pain pills?
Since I was about 13.
Prior to that, did you have any problem with your mother?
No.
At Miss Privet's house, do you share a room with your boyfriend?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Miss Privet, that's inappropriate.
Yes, ma'am, I know that.
That's inappropriate.
I know.
Why do you permit it?
At first, when she first moved in with us, she was sleeping on the couch, okay, and it was right next to my son's room. And when I went to sleep at night, I didn't know that they were together until one morning I woke up and I found them together. And, you know, I told them I had a problem with it, and they pretty much told me, well, Miss Allison Alley was buying their condoms and birth control pills, so I figured that it was, you know, okay, she was, I know it's wrong and it shouldn't happen, but I don't want to lie to you and tell you that they weren't
No, I
sleeping
know.
together.
I got it. I got it. Got it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have a sense that her mother is still abusing painkillers. Quiet!
Didn't say anything.
Good.
And later today.
That is a lie.
Did I look at you?
No, ma'am, she's lying.
But you're going to have a turn, Mr. Walker, and your turn will come when I say it's your turn.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Susan Privet says the mother of her son's girlfriend, Allison Alley, owes for child support. Susan claims Allison's 16-year-old daughter is now living with her.
Now, Miss Privet, I don't know what you want to do formally to make whatever custody arrangements you want to make, but I believe that if you want that child support regularly paid to you as legal custodian of Danielle, then what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go to court to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is your father, Danielle?
My father's at home right now in Pompano.
Your father knows about your living condition?
Yes.
Do you visit with your father?
Once in a while.
Why?
He has his own girlfriend and too busy for me.
Are you going to school?
Yes.
Every day?
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
Just about, yeah.
Ma'am,
No, not just about. Just about is not every day. Yes.
Ma'am, okay. When Danielle first came to live with me, she was not going to school on a regular basis. Miss Alley was moving her around from place to place.
Really?
When she first moved in with me, she was going to Silver Lakes. Then she came to live with me, and we registered her at my son's school, which was Lions Creek Middle School. But she's 15 years old, and she was in the 8th grade, so we went down and we signed her up at what we call North Area School of Choice, where they work at their own pace.
Signed her up.
Excuse me. Okay.
Just a
yes,
minute.
ma'am. She did take her down because she's a legal guardian, so she had to take her down.
She actually took her down and registered her at school.
Both schools.
Everything for her.
Is that right? Did you register your daughter at both those schools?
Yes, ma'am. I do everything for her, for her school.
Miss Ali,
getting her to school.
please. Please.
I have her
When she
attendance
registered
record
her
here.
at school, Whose address did she give?
She gave mine, ma'am, and I have a
Could
letter.
I see it, please?
It's just an envelope. I don't have the report card in there.
And this is your address?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, Miss Privet, I want you to pay attention to me.
Okay.
Her father should not be paying child support to Miss Ali.
Correct.
The child support check should be coming to you if the court is going to give permission for her to stay with you. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, they may not, because they may not like the living arrangement.
Correct.
The truth of the matter is, what are you going to do with a 16-year-old? A 16-year-old doesn't want to stay someplace else. She can't stay with her mother. Mother's got her own bag of tricks. She can't stay with her father. Clearly, with the permission of both her parents, because they both know where she is, and her mother enrolled her in school giving your address.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, your lawsuit seeks $1,600 for money owed for child care. The truth of the matter is, you'd be entitled, in my judgment, to $4,600 because she's been with you for approximately 40 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
At $115 a week, that's $4,600. Quiet!
Didn't say anything.
Good. Now, you're not suing for $4,600. You're suing for $1,600. That you're going to get. But what you have to do is, if you want a formalized order so that you don't have to keep coming back to court for this, I would strongly suggest that you go into family court. Yes?
Okay, well, I had spoken with her father, and he said that he wanted the child support switched over to me, but he doesn't have the money for an attorney to go to court, and he said, so...
He doesn't have to. You can go to court on your own, seeking guardianship of the child.
Okay.
I have a sense that her mother is not going to contest it, because if her mother contests it, what will happen is they will determine that her mother, based upon her daughter's testimony, is still abusing painkillers. She had a history of substance abuse. They will send her mother for regular drug testing and drug screening. Her mother will not want to go for regular drug screening. And in all probability, they will permit her to stay with you. That's if you make different arrangements as far as where these two children sleep. He's
sleep with
20,
me.
she's 16. That cannot continue. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600.
Thank you, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's a wonderful child. She's part of my family.
All she does is allow a roof where they can have sex.
If you love your children, you should do everything in your power to try and keep them.
Don't lay back and hope your daughter's going to come home. Take legal action right away.
If Danielle would like me to, yes, I will.
Yes.
Then yes, we're going to go ahead with legal custody of Danielle.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mills versus Walton. Step forward, please.
Staffing consultant Denise Mills is suing her ex-boyfriend, consultant Gary Walton, for several unpaid loans. Gary is countersuing, claiming Denise destroyed his car engine.
Miss Mills, the defendant is a former boyfriend of yours. You claim a series of loans to him. Some of the loans had to do with towing expenses for a car. You're going to tell me about that in a minute. The defendant has a counterclaim because he said the same car that got towed had to have an engine replaced, and that was your fault. He wants you to pay for a new engine, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So how long did this romance last? When did it start? When did it end?
Your Honor, it started August of 2000 and it ended October 2001.
And when was the first loan, Miss Mills?
The first loan was in February of 2001 to help cover his rent for $300.
And that's a lie.
Listen, I want you to answer me only when I either look at your direction and go, something like that, or ask you a question. But we don't just shout out here.
Gotcha.
Okay. Do you recall the defendant giving you money for rent?
No, Your Honor.
She never gave you any money for rent?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Tell me the circumstances surrounding that, Miss Mills.
Sure. He was a wannabe actor and model, and when times were a little slow for him, he did approach me and asked me, and he was a little embarrassed and stuttered a little bit and asked if he could borrow $300 to cover.
And what did you say? You said he could borrow the $300?
Sure, absolutely.
What was the payment schedule?
He had told me that he had a couple gigs where he was going to be receiving residual checks, and that he would be paying me back from those checks.
Okay. When was the second loan?
The second loan was the weekend of June 23rd through the 25th.
Okay, tell me about that.
We had gone to a wedding in Oakland, and he thought he had lost his wallet, and I loaned him $100 spending money and then $400 for the towing of the car.
Okay, that also happened during that weekend. The
Correct.
car towing? All right, tell me about that.
Dang it.
Did I look at you?
No, ma'am, but she's lying.
But you're going to have a turn, Mr. Walton. Mr.
I just
Walton,
say being lied upon.
Mr.
You know,
Walton,
I have my name here.
you're going to have a turn. And your turn will come when I say it's your turn.
So for that weekend, I loaned him a total of $500.
No. Just get to. You gave him $100 spending money.
Right, and then
you said that
$400
problem
to tow.
with the car. So
Right.
let's hear.
Right, we're driving home. He's passed out in the back. I decided to drive for a couple hours. We pull over the side of the road. I ask him to start driving. He starts driving. The car dies. So we're sitting on the side of the road waiting for a tow truck. When the tow truck gets here, he has no money, and everybody's looking at me. So I was able to lend him the money.
And you have all the receipts for all of these?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Okay. Anything else?
Another loan was made the night of July 21st. We had just attended a friend of mine, her wedding, and he decided he wanted to go to the casino to gamble for a little bit, and he gets there and his ATM card doesn't work. So he told me that, if I lend him $100, he was going to pay me back the following week.
So far, we have $900. Now, according to your complaint, he paid you back a substantial portion of this
Correct.
money. Tell me how much he paid you back.
He's paid me back a total of $520.
Over what period of time?
I'd say between the months of July and February of this year.
Were you giving him money between July and February, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Really? It's like I'm listening to two different worlds here.
She's just upset because she caught me cheating on her.
I'm not interested in that. I'm just interested in...
She's just upset about that.
Okay. The only thing you have to tell me
fabricated.
is, Mr. Walton,
$300.
I'd like...
Sorry, Your Honor.
Yeah, like
Where do
I
you
don't
come
have
from?
$380.
Where do you come from?
I'm from Belize.
Is that where you live now?
No, ma'am. I live in California.
Where in California?
Anaheim.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a recruiter, a headhunter.
For?
Accounting and finance professionals.
Okay. What do you do, Mr. Walton?
Business consultant.
What kind of business?
Kind of the same business as her. I'd rather not say exactly what I do. But I do have a job.
I just want to know what you do for a living, sir.
Basically the same thing as she, Your Honor.
Well, what is that? I'd like somebody to explain it to me. Basically, what do you do?
I place accounting professionals in corporations and on a permanent basis.
And he does the same thing?
Do you want me to tell you what he does since he can't tell you?
Well, yeah.
He's the staffing manager. Basically, he works in the healthcare industry, and he places nurses in home care.
Okay. Now, I'd like you to tell me something, Mr. Walton, about your counterclaim.
Basically, everything she just says is fabricated lie. Secondly, what happened was Miss Mills was nice enough on that date in June to drive a vehicle back. I was tired. One of my buddies just got married. We've been partying all day and all night. Now, I told her that she cannot drive over 65 miles per hour because I have a diesel engine. Diesels burn oil at a faster rate. She says, no problem. Take care of it. Next time we go get gas, we need to stop off, get the oil, put some more oil in, etc. She never stops. And she proceeds to drive over 65 miles an hour. And the only reason why I know this is because when I woke up, I saw the gauge. It basically froze at about 75 miles an hour, and the oil light came on. And I said, I told you not to drive that fast. You knew that we would launch the engine. She seized the engine up because of that. And she says that she would pay for the towing because it was her fault. And
Did
she
you ever
also
say
paid
that?
for my engine.
No, Your Honor. No, never.
Liar. God.
I assume you were tired because you'd been partying all night, so you asked her to drive the car. You wanted to be alert enough to watch and make sure that she wasn't driving over 65 or over 70 miles an hour. Stay awake. It's your car. Did you have any money with you that weekend?
Yes, I did. That was just actually a week after my birthday, so I get birthday money and I have a job.
So you had a whole bunch of money.
Yeah, so I don't need money from her.
Now, I believe her when she says that you gave her back money between
gave her money as
July
my
and
girlfriend,
February.
Your Honor.
No, between July and February. You were no longer seeing her, sir.
No, we were still off and on dating, and she knows it.
Well, if you were still off and on dating, did you in fact give her any money during that time?
Not as a payment of a loan.
What'd you give her money for?
Just so she could take her son out and do things like that. Just little recreational things because I love her son. I love the little guy.
Oh.
Miss Mills, you have the bills for the towing?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Can I see them, please? Okay, so it's clear that she paid for the towing, right?
Yes, she did.
Uh-huh. Good. Any other receipts you want to show me?
Your Honor, I just have statements documenting the withdrawals of the cash, the locations of the bank.
Not necessary.
Okay.
I'm just curious as to why you kept such good record of this. You know, $100 here and $300 here.
Well, Your Honor, it's I've never been in a relationship where I've had to give a man money, ever. And when he first approached me, I was very uncomfortable. But because I did love him, I cared about him, and I trusted him, that's why I did it. And I think I'm the type of person, I just like to keep those records because you never know. And this is a perfect example of you never know. I mean, we were having a great relationship.
All right, well, your lawsuit seeks $380, including the towing charge. I do believe you that he gave back some of the money. I'm going to enter a judgment in your favor in the amount requested, $380, and I'm dismissing your counterclaim for the cost of the engine.
That's correct.
Fix it yourself. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This is case number 78 on the calendar in the matter of Bartos versus Jones. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Ms. Bartos, you and the defendant had been good friends for a very long time. How many years had you been good friends?
Between 4 to 5.
And you claim a series of loans to him.
Yes.
Mr. Jones, while acknowledging that you gave him some money, is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And while acknowledging that you purchased some things for him, said everything that you gave him were gifts, and that you're suing him for a reason that he's going to tell me later. So, when did you make the first loan to him?
February 28th of this year.
Under what circumstances?
That he was to pay me back as soon as possible.
Now, tell me what he said, what you said, what it was for, whether it was cash. Tell me what it was.
Okay, I received a settlement check for an automobile accident, and I picked him up from his home, and he said he had to get some clothes. We got the clothes, shoes, all that stuff, and he stepped outside and he asked me if I could pay for it for him.
Is that what he said? Could you pay for this for me?
If I could do him a large favor.
Yeah.
And if I could pay for it for him.
Why did he want you to pay for it for him?
I do not know.
So what did
Obviously,
you say?
he didn't have money.
So what did you say to him?
I said, under the terms you pay me back. He was my best friend.
Well, you didn't say to him, under the terms you'll pay me back. That doesn't sound like something that comes out of your mouth, Ms. Bartos. So you have to be very careful about what you say to me, because I can usually tell the truth.
Okay.
Okay? He said, he stepped outside and he said, can you pay for this, or can you take care of this? He must have said, why? How do you go shopping without money? I mean, that would be normal, even with your best friend. So let's hear what transpired in February of '02. Well, he came outside and said, can you take care of this for me? And what did you say to him?
Sure.
You said sure.
Under the terms that he was to pay me back, it was a loan. He said, could you loan this to me?
Now you gave me two different scenarios. You said, can you take care of this for me? Can you pay for this for me? And now you say, could you loan me the money to pay for this? Which one was it?
It was a loan. It was a loan.
I'm looking for the words, Miss Bartos. You're not cooperating with me. You're looking to the end result. I am looking for the words that were exchanged. Are you following me?
Yes.
Maybe I'm not going to get the answer from you, so forget it. Mr. Jones, you remember February 28th of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the clothes shopping.
I had to get some new clothes. Stephanie was a good friend. She wanted to go with me, so we went down to the shop. I actually left my wallet at home that day. That's why I forgot, just running out, getting everything together. She was on her way.
So you left your wallet at home?
Yeah. That's why I asked her.
What was in your wallet?
My credit card.
So you
some
were
money.
intending to pay for the clothes with your credit card?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, I went to look for my wallet to pay. Didn't have it on me. I said, Stephanie, can you pay for it? She said, sure. And that was that.
Well, did you mention to Stephanie, because you must have mentioned to Stephanie, can you pay for this for me? I left my wallet home.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your story?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No, it doesn't.
I want to tell you something. She is so fixed at getting her loan across that she's not paying attention. Maybe she just don't get it. But according to you, that's what happened, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, when was the second money that you gave him, madam?
March 8th.
Go ahead.
And he had phoned me a couple days prior. He said that he was in financial debt. He couldn't make rent. He didn't get his promotion through his job. And he asked me if he could borrow some more money. And he said that his only other means was to do something illegal. And I told him, I said, you have a 1-year-old son. You don't want to jeopardize that. And so he came up to my job on March 8th, and I loaned him $1,000 so he would not come up here to LA to do something illegal.
How much were his clothes?
A total of $445.47.
So tell me about the $1,000, sir.
I had talked to Stephanie a couple of days prior, and I told her that, you know, I was trying to get a couple of things moving quickly.
Well, I don't know what that means. You're
Well,
in the moving
I was
business?
trying to get a couple of, you know, things that I wanted, and I didn't get my promotion.
I don't understand what you mean. You're trying to get a couple of things that you wanted. What does that mean?
Like, I wanted to buy a new outfit, I wanted to get some stuff, I wanted to just buy some more stuff that I wanted personally for myself. You know, and then I got hit with having to take care of rent at the same time, and I didn't manage it correctly. I had told Stephanie what was going on within my life, and that I had a deal going down, which was not a very honest deal, but I had a deal going down that was roughly about $2,000. And she said, you know what, hey, you know, I'm your friend, I don't want you to do that, you know, I don't want you to put your life in jeopardy. You know, whenever you need something, you can call upon me. You know, I told her, I was like, hey, you know, I don't know when I'll be able to, you know, have this money again. I don't know what, you know.
Now, what does that mean? I don't know
I'm
when
sorry.
I'll be able to
I'm
have
sorry.
this money again. What does that mean, Mr. Jones?
Yeah, I don't know when I'll
You don't
be
know
able
when you'll be able to pay her back. Is
Yeah,
that what
for
you
that.
meant? Is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know when I'll be able to pay you back.
Right.
And what did she say?
She said, don't worry about it. You know, you're my friend. Here you go. And she just wrote the check to me.
Okay. And what was the next amount of money that you claimed that you loaned to him, Miss Bartos?
We went the next week, we went to tattoo parlor, and he wanted to get a tattoo on his right upper arm with his son's name, and I paid for it under the pretenses he was to pay me back.
Okay, Miss Bartos, that I'm not even entertaining. The tattoo. Do you understand? If you're dumb enough
I'm not
to
dumb.
give, yes you are.
No,
If you're
I'm
dumb enough to give him money for clothes, if you're dumb enough to give him $1,000 because you say he was going to be evicted, then you don't indulge him in paying for a tattoo with his son's name on it and expect to get paid. Not from me, because that's the height of stupidity.
But he was to pay me back with his income tax return.
I don't care what you say. I don't believe that. Who is this person?
My father.
Even your father understands that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The tattoo was already starting.
So what? What's your son's name?
Moses the Fifth.
So then you can have Mo.
And later today,
My tools.
I'm not interested in your tools that were in the car, sir. Mr. Green, do I look stupid to you?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stephanie Bartos says former friend Moses Jones owes for several unpaid loans. Moses says he never agreed to pay.
Somebody has already borrowed almost $1,500 from you because he needed it. The first thing he needed were clothes. The second thing he needed was money so that he wouldn't get evicted. Somebody who needs money so that they're not going to get evicted doesn't spend a couple of $100s to get a tattoo on his arm. And if you are not stupid, then you say to him, Mr. Jones, you have a lot of debt. You don't need a tattoo on your arm.
Well,
so I'm not paying for that, whether you say you're going to pay me back or not pay me back.
Well, initially, I went there to get a tattoo on my back shoulder of my daughter's name. And he sat down, and the tattoo was already started. He didn't have the money, so I went with his friend to go get the money. The tattoo was already starting.
So what? What's your son's name?
Moses the Fifth.
So then you can have Mo. You understand what I'm saying?
Order.
Okay. Shh. Then you find out, because you called him, and you find out that he got married. Is that right?
Yes.
Because that's his defense. He says, you're really mad about all these things because this very best friend of yours had gotten married 2 years before and didn't tell you. Right? Mm-hmm. How come you neglected to tell your very good friend that you got married, sir?
Well, that's a weird situation that happened.
That's not weird.
It is weird if I were to get into the details about it. But, you know, it was a situation that I wasn't very comfortable with, and I was in the process of a separation. That's why...
Well, you weren't separated at the time you got married.
No, I wasn't.
Right.
But
So
when I got married, me and her weren't even really talking. There was a 2-year gap where we didn't even talk.
So, but then somebody picked up a phone, somebody met in the street and whatever, and you say, hi, how you doing? No, good. How are you doing? Anything happening? What's doing? Yes, I got married.
Right.
But you didn't say that.
No, because...
Did you say that? Did you tell her you were married when you took the $1,000 from her?
No, I was...
Were you living with your wife at the time?
No, I wasn't.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And I was there. I've gone there before.
All right, Ms. Bartos, despite yourself and in spite of yourself and your testimony, Mr. Jones has cooked his own goose because Mr. Jones testified that he was intending to pay for his... Stop smiling, it's irritating. Mr. Jones has indicated that he was intending to pay for these clothes, but for the event of the lost wallet or the left home wallet, he was going to pay for his clothes. So what, you keep shaking your head no. You're so thick and so fixed in your position that you're not paying attention.
I'm paying attention.
Then try to pay attention. Which indicates that he had intended to pay for his own clothes, which would have been very natural for him to say, I left my wallet home, could you cover this for me, and I'll pay you back. Not I left my wallet at home, so would you buy these clothes for me because I don't have my wallet, and I'm not going to pay you back. That's what he said, because he's not too swift. And as we come to the $1,000, I also believe, based upon his testimony, that he led you to believe that he was going to pay you back at some unspecified time. Because according to him, he said, I don't know when I can pay you back. And you said, that's all right. But the intention was to pay you back. And that's what you relied on. So I'm entering a judgment in your favor for those 2 loans. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,445. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He lied to me. He had been married, never told me.
You know, I don't feel it was a betrayal just because I didn't tell her.
He stood up there and blatantly lied.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Green versus Fale Tegaloa, step forward.
Carpenter Reginald Green is suing his ex-girlfriend, security guard Loretta Fale Tagaloa, for the value of 2 cars and the value of his tools.
Mr. Green, it is your claim that the defendant is responsible for 2 automobiles that you owned. They were towed and later auctioned, and you believe it is her fault that happened. Is that right? You want to be compensated for the 2 cars.
As well as the tools that were in the cars at the particular time, yes.
Tell me why you believe it was the defendant's responsibility to safeguard your cars.
I was in a relationship with another individual before I met Loretta.
I want you to look at me.
I was in a relationship whereas it became volatile in that relationship, and I was incarcerated for a parole violation. I called Loretta. So right there from the start, I gave her the responsibility, or she took upon the responsibility.
No, I want you to tell me what you said to her.
I told her, I asked her, would she take care of the cars for me? She said, yes, no problems. I told her to give, I had 3 cars. I said, give 1 to my mom. 1 car she elected, the British Sterling, she elected to give to her cousins for her to put it in her cousin's garage. The other car she was going to leave in front of her house in front of a residential neighborhood. Everything was fine. I got letters and statements here saying that the cars were fine in January. I was incarcerated October 5th. Then she went to Samoa, and I guess the cars got towed when she came back from Samoa in March.
Let me see the letter that she wrote to you in January.
There you go, sir.
And you went into prison in October.
Yes, ma'am.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Reginald Green says, while serving a 7-month prison sentence, ex-girlfriend Loretta Fale Tagaloa agreed to look after his vehicles. Reginald says when he got out, the cars had been impounded.
All right, would you show this to the defendant and ask her if she wrote this letter to the plaintiff?
Your Honor, I also have another letter that says...
Did you write that letter? Did you write that letter?
Yes.
I also have another letter, January 5th, that one's the 15th. She also says the car is okay.
Okay.
I have another letter here in November She says, don't worry, I will look after your cars.
Let me see.
I will drive one, just playing, because she doesn't know how to drive. So I've got wind that she had other people driving her to work or in the car. I talked to the man at the lien sales place. He said that the car was caught on the 6th.
Shh, don't tell me what anybody else said, sir.
Okay.
What kind of cars were these, sir?
A 1985 Dodge Lancer and 1987 British Sterling. And I have the Kelly Blue Books.
I'd like to see them, please.
Bill of sales here for that. Sir.
Okay, the value of both of these cars, according to this, is $3,200.
Okay, and the tools.
I'm not interested in your tools, sir. Should have taken the tools out of your car. There's nothing in here that says anything about tools. She says she'd take care of your cars.
Okay.
Okay, good. Now, what happened to his cars, madam?
His cars were parked. You know, the car street cleaning. See that car every morning is parked there. They can't move. So they towed the car.
You told him you would take care of his cars. You wrote him a letter. Don't worry, the cars are okay.
The car didn't get towed until March.
So?
When I came back from Samoa, my sister told me the car is been towed because she moved the car every day, but then the month of March, she didn't move it because she went for vacation.
That's your fault. If you take on the responsibility of watching somebody's property, that's your responsibility. You don't
I
give it
can't drive.
Then you shouldn't have said that I will take care of your property. Your defense is a lot of baloney. Your defense is they brought the cars over and you knew nothing about it. That's what you say.
Now,
shh. Speaking. You say, his cousin brought his cars over to where I was staying without my permission. Well, that's not true. Because in your letters to him, you say to him, don't worry, I'm taking care of your cars. Your cars are okay. I will look after your cars. What else you want to say?
My tools.
I'm not interested in your tools that were in the car, sir. Not for a second.
She knows that I'm a carpenter and I work as a carpenter. That's my occupation. And my tools, it stays in my car because when I go to work, I just take off with my tools in the
Green,
car.
do I look stupid to you? If you're going to jail, sir, and your cars are going to be sitting outside in the street, you're not a fool.
She took the tools out the car.
Listen to me. Oh, did you take the tools
No,
out of the car?
I did not take
Yes,
no
you did, because
tools
there was
out
a
of
bag.
no
There was a
car.
bag. My tool bag was in the car.
I
My
didn't take no
tools was in the
out
car.
of your car.
Okay. Do you have any proof she took the tool bag, the tools out of your car?
Doesn't have no proof.
I'm not speaking to you.
Hey, so
Do you have any proof that she took the tools out of your car?
She told me that she'll get the tools out the car. And she took them out the car and put them in her house.
Did you put his tools in your house?
Nope.
You say you complained
She's
that
lying, though. She said she promised me that
just
she'll
a
tell the
second.
truth. And she lying.
I'm going to read you the last line of your complaint, sir. I am suing the defendant in the amount of $5,000 for my cars and my tools that were inside of the cars. That's your signature, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the tools.
That's what you write.
The
so
tools were inside of the car.
she's not responsible for that. You're responsible for
Oh, that doesn't increase the value of the cars? If the tools were inside?
No.
Okay, fine, fine.
But the values of your cars together are $3,210. And that's your responsibility because you didn't do the right thing. Took on a job, you didn't do it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,210. Thank you.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। तो जी भाई, ये मैं आपको इस वेबसाइट पे अकाउंट बनाने का तरीका सिखाता हूँ। तो मैंने आपको लिंक सेंड किया है, उस लिंक पे क्लिक करना है। दूसरी बात यह कि इस वेबसाइट में ₹1 भी नहीं लगाना है, ठीक है। तो लिंक पे इस तरह क्लिक करना है और स्टेप बाय स्टेप मैं आपको समझाता हूँ, ठीक है। पहले मैं आपको अकाउंट बनाने का तरीका सिखाता हूँ। तो अपना नंबर लिखना है, जो भी आप लिखते हैं, ठीक है, जो आपका नंबर हो। फिर अपना नाम लिखो, ईमेल, यानी कि ईमेल कोई बड़ा चीज़ नहीं है। जैसे कि मैं लिखता हूँ ABDU अब्दुल बासित 1 2 3 4 5। जीमेल इस तरह, सॉरी, COM। जीमेल इस तरह अपना नाम लिखो, 1 2 3 4 5 या 4 तक इनसे लिखो। जीमेल कम लिखो, इस तरह जो भी आप लिखते हो, ठीक है। जीमेल का कोई मसला नहीं है। पासवर्ड सिंपल सा लगाओ, जैसे कि मैं लगाता हूँ 1 2 3 4 5 6। जैसे आपने लगा दिया तो एग्री अकाउंट पे इस तरह क्लिक करना है। ये अकाउंट ओपन हो गया। यहाँ पे अपने साथ सेव करें इस तरह, ठीक है। यहाँ पे आपको ये 10 रुपये बोनस भी मिल जाएंगे। तो अभी थोड़ा यहाँ से वापस आना है इस तरह, ठीक है। व्हाट्सअप नंबर ऐड करने का तरीका मैं आपको सिखाता हूँ। इस पर इस तरह क्लिक करना है, फिर भी क्लिक करें। फिर यहाँ पे लिखा है होम, ये होम पे इस तरह क्लिक करो। यहाँ पे ऊपर लिखा है लॉग इन टू व्हाट्सअप, इस पर इस तरह क्लिक करो। यहाँ पे लॉग इन टू व्हाट्सअप, इस पर इस तरह क्लिक करो। यहाँ पे एग्री नेक्स्ट पे क्लिक करो। यहाँ पे फिर नेक्स्ट पे क्लिक करो, फिर नेक्स्ट। यहाँ पे 2 ऑप्शन आपके सामने आ जाएंगे। तो नीचे वाला ऑप्शन इस पे इस तरह क्लिक करना है। यहाँ पे अपना व्हाट्सअप नंबर लिखना है, जैसे कि मेरे को 49 85 62 124। यहाँ पे क्लिक करना है। जैसे आपने यहाँ पे क्लिक किया तो आपको एक मैसेज आता है, ठीक है, व्हाट्सएप पे। हाँ, ये ऊपर देख लीजिए मैसेज आ गया। तो इस पे इस तरह क्लिक करना है, कंफर्म करना है, फिर क्लिक करना है। फिर जो आपका मोबाइल पे पासवर्ड लगा हुआ वो लगाना है इस तरह। यहाँ पे आपको एक कोड मिला है नीचे, ये SF 3T 7JHE 7JHE। ये जब आपने लगा दिया तो इस तरह थोड़ा इंतज़ार करना है। हाँ, ये व्हाट्सअप नंबर ऐड हो गया, ये ऑनलाइन हो गया, ठीक है। तो जब आपका नंबर ऐड हो जाए तो यहाँ से आप चेक कर सकते हैं, ये टैग हो गया है। तो जैसे आपने व्हाट्सअप नंबर ऐड किया तो आपका अर्निंग शुरू होता है। तीसरा बात, दोस्तों को किस तरह अपना इन्वॉल्व करना है। जब आप एक बंदे को ज्वाइन करें और वो एक बंदा अपना लिंक कॉपी करने, इससे आगे अपने दोस्तों को ज्वाइन करना है। जब उसने व्हाट्सअप नंबर ऐड किया उसको भी पैसे मिलता है फिर, और आपको भी।